you getting yourself ready for our show?
Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef back with another episode of Jigs and Bigs. And we got a good one this week, guys. I had one hell of a week, and it was an expensive week. Not exactly the most fun that I've had, but so I'm hoping that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'll explain. I got more coming up in just a bit. In FTG this week, I'm basically having a TED Talk. This is what I'm doing about the comments. It's going to be good. You're not going to want to miss it. We have a special guest co-host this week. Sean the Fisherman is right now. I think he's on the road to go see Ghost in southern Connecticut, which is great. Good for him. But we're lucky enough because we've got the one and only Debo with us. And Debo, we're putting a little Debo spin in our second segment right here. We're mixing up Bait of the Week and Just the Tip. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, guys. I think I'm looking forward to it. I know you guys are as well. We got Who the Fuck is Joe Brown with us. We got all kinds of fun stuff to talk about. And some information coming up. Jigs and Bigs Live is happening in a couple of different cities in the early part of 2024. You're not going to want to miss it, guys. We got much more coming up after this from Jigs and Bigs.
Got it locked, 106.3, The Bone Radio.
And that was apparently the radio sponsor for last night's concert up in Portland, where Sean and I were. And I've all weekend long since I saw that banner, I've had that stupid thing in my head, and I'm like, that would make an awesome little jingle. Gentlemen, how we doing? Joe, Debo, how's things?
Things are awesome, man.
Things
good,
are
dude.
Awesome.
I'm a little jealous. I'm not going to Ghost, but they came here to the Paramount, which is like a small little venue. Oh, and I missed it. Should have went.
They are the most intriguing live band because they look so like doom and gloom.
Yeah,
but they don't sound that way.
Music's not that way at all.
It's
They
crazy.
said it was a really good show. So.
Yeah.
A little upset.
We went to Sean, myself, and actually Nelson was with us. He took the ride up with us. We met up with one of us. I don't know if we've ever talked about Stubbs before, but one of Sean's old military buddies. We have this group chat on Instagram where all we do is just send the most ridiculous the most ridiculous reels to one another, and it goes all way. It pushes the envelope in every possible direction. If it's out there, you guys know this is the gutter. Is what it is. It's the gutter. Yeah. And we share all this stuff. And I've never met Stubbs in person, but I feel like I've known him for a lifetime because we started this in the pandemic, and now it's like I'm like, oh, that's right. Remember you sent me that thing about oh yeah. No, it's just unbelievable. And his buddy Jared, they had some pretty amazing stories. Like this is an old high school friend of his, and they're I think they're Mainers, and we shared some stories that I'm not going to share here, so that I don't incriminate anybody. Just had an amazing time. It was really, really great. We got a bunch of jig heads in the house, and let's see, who do we got here? We got Metal Jones with us, Zex chillin' from Dark Horse Tackle. We got Tim Bender. Tim Bender shocked. He goes, Debo's on here? What up, gentlemen? Gravy Fishing is with us. He's making the drive north, his weekly pilgrimage north to work for the week, which does not sound like it's awesome. In fact, he says he's got 2 more months until it ends, which sucks. Let's kick this show off with a little question before we get into our weekly recaps here. Tim actually says, hey, Debo, I'm a pro staffer for Kistler. I know you've used their rods. Any thoughts? Nothing like putting you on the spot right away.
Oh, dude, I like it. I like the unknown. That's what we were talking about. Something else later that's going to be going on. I'm like, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. I like the
element of surprise.
So it's
cool.
It's legit. Yeah, Kistler makes great rods. Oh, and I already froze. I might leave it like that for the people watching. But yeah, froze already. It's a new thing that my computer does. So anyway, yeah, great rods. I've got more than a few. Yeah, I mean, great company too. I've had the chance to talk to Trey a little bit.
Yep.
Super nice dude. Good rods. So
they have been doing a lot more of a push, I think, recently as a brand. I've seen a lot more like Kistler ads, specifically actually on YouTube. I've seen a lot of ads run for them in between like various fishing videos and stuff. And I think that they're a brand that's trying to go like and push to that outer level where they're like one of those household names.
Yeah, because I had never heard of them. Like I didn't know much about them being, a Texas company. And then somebody said something about them and I ended up getting on one of their sales where they had like 50% off.
Oh,
but you had to buy like 3 rods, which at the time was like, $700. But if you're getting 50% off, it's like, okay, I'll get 3 for $350 and see how it goes. And kind of took off after that. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is nuts. It's funny. Sean and I were just talking about, I was looking at, because we're talking rods. I use a lot of arc rods. And it basically comes a lot from Joe's recommendation from Old Glory. And I'm using the Brandon Cobb and also the Tharp series rods. And I was looking at the Tharps, the new 2024 ones.
Yeah.
And they're pretty badass. And Sean hit me with a question that I had never even considered before. He goes, are you just going to buy like a full lineup or are you going to piecemeal it? And I'm like, I've been piecemealing it because I kind of like that. I kind of like to mess with a rod. And if I don't love it, then I'll swap that one out. You know what I mean? Right. But I don't know. Now it's kind of in my head. I'm like, should I go all out and like put something together? I'd have to find something that hits all the notes that I'm looking in that spectrum, I don't know.
Didn't Kistler recently get into reels as well?
I think they did.
They did. Yeah, they did. Some of the reels could use some refinement. I did grab a couple of those. There's some things I would do different on them, but I don't really have any say in that. But
me personally, I've not used any Kistler products. I haven't heard anything about the reels, but the rods I haven't heard anything bad about.
Yeah.
So
it's
their price point's not terrible either, if I remember right.
Yeah, they're a little bit more expensive. The newer stuff they've come out with is a little bit more expensive. But the key for them is to wait for deals. Like they have Kistler specific deals. Like you can get them at Tackle Warehouse, all the other places. But like the key for them is wait because they'll do their own deals. Gotcha. That's where, like I said, I got mine. I mean, I think they had you buy 2 and get 30% off or something, or buy 3 and it was like 45%, whatever it was. But that's kind of the key for them is to wait for that.
It's crazy how some of these rod companies do that. I mean, I bought I got my hands on a couple Doomsday rods over last winter, and it was buy one, get one free. I'm like, how they even do that?
I know.
Well, you know what? I'm going to do it. Right? I mean,
like what's the markup on these things that you're able to fucking keep the lights on for that? Because that's a monster savings right there.
Right.
You know?
It was, and there's another company I can't remember.
Didn't Line 6 do that?
Who?
Wasn't it Line 6 or 6 Gill? Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
6 Gill does those. They do crazy ones.
Yeah.
I think they have like an ever running buy one.
Yeah. But there's another. It wasn't Doomsday, but it was another company. Similar to like Doomsday, who was doing another buy one get one free sale, and I was like, I'm gonna do it, and then I didn't because I just didn't need it at the time. But
Tim says that he's loving the rods so far. Chrissy Fishing joins us. She says, good evening, guys. How you doing, Chrissy? Gravy chimes in. He says, loving his Invoker Pro arc rods from thanks to Joe. And Tim gives some feedback on the reels. He says, reels are nice too. No complaints.
I do. I actually, for Gravy, I still run shit. I mean, I'm 6 cents through and through with my rods, mainly, but I still run a few Invoker Pros. I love those things.
Oh yeah, Gravy says 6 Gill sucks. Yeah, I've heard that.
They do.
I've heard that they're not fantastic.
It's buy one get one. It's buy one get 2 free because 2 of them are gonna break.
That's pretty freaking good. Oh man. So
here I can I'll jump out real quick and jump back in. That way I'm not froze this whole time.
All right, no sweat. While that's going on, I have a wild week to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about my week. I'll get that started. So, you guys remember last week at the end of when we recorded that show, my family was still in South Carolina, living their best life, having a great time. And I was up here just full on send every day I could possibly get out there. I was making it happen. And that's what we did. There he is. I had gone out. This was Monday being the first day of the week, because Bobby, that's how it works, was Monday. I got a bunch of stuff handled. I think, did I edit the show late? I think I did. Did I fish with Sean on Monday?
I thought you were fishing with Sean Monday. Yeah, we talked. Oh, you went to because you went to Anoda.
We went to Anoda. That's right. Yep. I did fish with Sean on Monday. I knew I went out, and
I got skunked.
I got skunked at Anoda. The conditions had us both thinking that, moving baits were going to be great. We had really good cloud cover. We had pretty solid wind too. Like the water had some real chop on it. It was nice. And both of us were thinking like, yeah, let's go find these weeds and start ripping some chatterbaits over them, see what we can do. Sean caught a couple of small ones here and there. He messed around and changed spots and tried looking in another area. I dedicated all this one area to a spot that I knew before and did well on, and I couldn't buy a bite. I could not buy a bite. So we called it a day. I headed back home. Got my, stuff, everything. Actually, now that I think about it, everything was prepped for the week as far as my work week goes and everything. Everything was ready to rock. I edited the show on Sunday. It was ready and uploaded on Sunday evening. It was all good to go. So I wanted to go out and fish on Monday, did that, check that box off the list. And I haven't had a skunk in a while. It's been a while. It really has. This week I had 2. And the next one is coming up. So my next day I had gone out was, Tuesday, my family, it was late Monday night. It was actually like 2 a.m. Tuesday morning that my family gets back, right? So I took and spent that day and just hung out with them. Hadn't seen them in forever. It was good. They had a blast. Dad paid for vacation, so of course they had a blast. I think my dog Hudson, I think his heart was a little bit broken when he saw Eleanor come through the door, and knowing that she's just the neediest of dogs. He knew that he wasn't going to get Dad to himself like he had previously. So I think he was a little heartbroken, but I think he's gotten over it. I think he's doing okay. He's in a good place now. I know you guys are concerned. So I hung out on Tuesday. Didn't do anything crazy, but while I was out on Tuesday, or actually, let me back up to Monday because I'm forgetting something on Monday. Monday night, I went out to go do trivia, and I go, and as I pull into the parking lot of the bar that I work at on Mondays, the Rumble Seat in Chicopee, I get a text from Todd Grubbs. He goes, "Hey, homie, I'm camping tonight in Holyoke." It's like, what? I go, why?
Right.
He goes, all right, so he goes, do you know of a bait shop called, and he said some name, and I'm like, that's not the name I know that bait shop as. I go, but I know what you're talking about. And it's odd because like 2 weeks prior, my buddy Eric had mentioned this bait shop as being like ground zero for carp fishing gear. And I said, you know what? That makes a ton of sense because I go, it's not ground zero for bass fishing gear. I always got the impression that was primarily like if what you did was fish for stripers, this was your spot.
It's like the Connecticut, like basically if you're going to fish the Connecticut River.
Yep, it's right at the 116 bridge.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yep.
But I had heard this from Eric about this spot, and I was like, okay, cool, because there's stuff that I need, and I'm just like, I'm not necessarily thinking about it like little like lead kits so that I can like properly rig my hair rigs without getting things tangled or anything like that. Small like terminal tackle stuff that's designed for that. I need to get a mat. Should I catch a big carp? I don't want it to freaking, die on the ground or whatever. And I also, I fish with a fairly large bass net. It's small for carp. It really is. So I should replace that net as well. And I'm like, it would be great to just be able to run out and pick these things up as I'm thinking of it or whatever. So now Todd is the second person who's brought this to my attention. He's like, of everything I've heard, it's fantastic. So he's on a trip right now and he's going to be gone, I think, for like I think he comes back tomorrow or the day after, sometime before midweek next week. And he's actually out. He's helping a buddy of his locate somebody on one of the Great Lakes.
Okay.
It's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
Also, for those that don't know, Todd Grubb is officially Captain Grubbs.
Oh, all right.
Cool.
Yeah, he took the test. He is a captain now. So, he messages me. He's like, I'm going to be camping. And, I said, well, if that's where you're going, I said, I think this is your best spot to camp. So I sent the pin where he was at, and I was like, I'm coming by with beer and pizza. We're going to hang out. So that's what I did. I got a pizza to go from the place where I was doing trivia. I had a bunch of beers in my cooler. I went over to where Todd was planted, and we hung out. We talked carp fishing. We talked bass fishing because I'm trying to get the fire under his ass for bass fishing.
Right.
Like, you can only catch so many giant tuna. You know what I mean?
I feel like that would be a hard transition. Yeah. Like catching big saltwater fish and then being like, oh yeah, this 1 pound bass is cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a different animal, literally. But we hung out. We talked fishing. The big thing is I needed to see the new build. He's got that van, that old Chevy van, and the videos for the build make it look amazing. And in person, it's everything as amazing as you think it is. It is the setup. He's got it made. So, I was like, I want to check out the build. So I come over, we're eating pizza, we're watching the new Beavis and Butthead. And then it dawns on me that I'm hanging out with a shirtless Todd Grubbs in a van down by the river. And that's exactly how my Monday nights should go from here on out. So, yeah, it's pretty wild.
I'm not mad at that one bit.
No, that was definitely good. And I also, I didn't realize this, but there's a website, carpangler.com, which is a online carp angling resource with a brick and mortar store. Like, I think on Long Island. I think they're in New York. I think it's Long Island though. And I think we're gonna have the owner on to talk, some carp fishing and stuff. I know it's like a lot of people, it's like carp fishing's not sexy, but I don't know, man. I think catching a 30 to 50 pound fish is fucking cool as hell,
Oh yeah.
Like to me, that's pretty crazy out of like some tiny little pond somewhere. And so we're talking about this, and he had he partnered up with Carp Angler, and he was showing me some of the gear that they've got him using, and it's freaking unbelievable. Like the rigs that he has, and I think the journey that he is about to go on is amazing. So Todd, keep it up, man. We love it. We love it. Oh, Gravy chimes in. He says, wait, Sean's fishing again? What the hell did I miss? Yes, he is fishing again. He's not competing. And I think he's having a good time. We've been out.
Tune into last week's show.
Yeah, last week's show. I think he's been having a real good time with it. So let me get back to my week. Tuesday was, hanging out with the family, catching up, on all kinds of stuff. Wednesday, I had, and during the day Tuesday, I was kind of planning where did I want to fish on Wednesday, and I've been wanting to go to a big bass factory for a while. Ever since I had that one break off on that swim jig at my local pond, I'm like, I just want another shot. You know what I mean? So I went up to a body of water up the Shears that's got a reputation as a big bass factory. I've caught multiple big uns over there in the past. On techniques that I like fishing a lot. Like I've caught bigs on big wake baits. I've caught bigs on, tiny little finesse baits over there. I've caught bigs on jigs. Like they love jigs in this body of water. So I'm like, okay, let's go and, we'll mess around. We'll see what we can come up with. I had one swipe on a buzzbait. This is like, we had super cloudy day, like crazy, and really, really light wind too. But super cloudy. So I was like, I'm going to see if I can make this work. And just to kind of cover some water, I'm throwing a buzzbait. I was actually throwing that big clacking crocagator buzzbait with one of the, I wasn't using one of the crocagator toads on the back. I actually had a paddle tail on it. And I got a good swipe on it. And I think this is where I messed up. I wanted to get that big wake bait bite so bad that I threw this giant 6-ounce wake bait that the butcher had actually given me.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I'm like, what do you? As I released on the spool for the cast, I was like, what are you doing, dummy? And this thing hit the water, and I'm like, those fish are gone now. What? You know what I mean? I'm like, you idiot. So I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and just fool around with some other stuff, and we'll get along our way. And then it happened. I made the decision to switch to a real, like, sort of confidence bait that I've got, and that's just a swim jig with a long paddle tail. And as I'm working around some grass in here, and this is a part of I actually specifically went to a part of the lake that I normally don't fish, just because I knew I was going to, like, do the circumference of it, like, twice. I was going to be there all day long. Big plans for a guy whose rudder control broke.
Oh, that's right.
So I'm out there 2 hours on the water, and I'm, maneuvering around some of the stumps and, lay downs and stuff. And I'm working this. I'm fishing pretty slow, actually, slower than I intended to initially. And as I go and adjust my rudder to reposition the boat, I hear something go like pop underneath in the gunnel. Where the rudder control is lying. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking that might have been the cable coming off of the mechanism and letting go. I've heard that this has been a thing with other native products, and that it's happened to other people before. In fact, it was something that we tried to get with Three Bells Outfitters. We tried to get in front of on my boat because I hadn't experienced it yet, but we had swapped out the rudder control. So basically the line that's used for the rudder control and the drum is a unit from Burley Pro. And then the rudder we swapped out to an aluminum rudder from Boondocks. So it's pretty diesel, but the handle itself is all original. And I'm like, that's kind of odd. So I get over into the shallows, I get out of the kayak, and I adjust the rudder, and my rudder moves like butter. It's just so buttery soft. It's just like, it's the easiest to turn. It's insane. And I set it so that it's straight in the middle. And I'm like, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pedal drive, and I'll use my paddle as a rudder to just dip down in the water when I want to maneuver, whatever way. Sounds like a fantastic idea, except that the rudder would just drift off to one extreme or the other and stay there after like 30 seconds. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I set the rudder again. I realize that this isn't going to work. And as I'm trying to paddle, if I go too fast, I start just doing circles. It just brings me all in a loop. Luckily, as luck would have it, the wind that day was blowing in a direction where it was pushing me toward the ramp. And it was a light enough wind where I wasn't traveling too fast. It wouldn't send me into a death spiral, which could have been bad. I had looked around, and I went to... hang on, I got a message here. Oh, here we go. So we, I go and I'm making my way along, and I'm don't have any tools with me, so I can't take this apart. I reach over to adjust the rudder control just to see if maybe I can like edge it along, if it's still, grabbing, and I realize how loose the rudder control is. And I'm holding the handle in my hand, and there's fragments of broken plastic, because that's all it is, in between. And there's like this star pattern bolt that slides into the control, and it's just, it's trashed in there. It's completely broken off, like almost clean. So I'm like, okay, this isn't the problem I thought I had. I thought I could get back to the ramp, take apart everything, and then reset the cable. It was not the case at all. I'm like, I need a new handle if I'm going to be able to make this work. So I hustle. I get back to, or I hustle at, 0.4 miles an hour with the wind back to the ramp. I finally get over there. As I'm getting up to the ramp, I'm like, I'm moving at a snail's pace. But there's a couple of kids and their dad fishing right at the ramp. Like that's because it's the best place to fish, right? Isn't it? I can't bitch too much because they were very, when I was like, yeah, guys, I'm coming in. I was like, I got a broken rudder. They were very, very cool. In fact, the dad actually helped me out. I told him I took the handle off. I was like, I just want to see if the mechanism is still working or if I'm completely screwed. So I took the rudder and adjusted. I had him just look in the spot where the rudder handle would go, and he could see that it was still spinning, which told me that the cables and everything were all intact. So that was a good thing. So I headed home. Like, yeah, there was some words on the water while I was waiting for the wind to bring me in. I was pissed. But by the time I got back to the car, I realized something. I was like, there is an opportunity here. I'm not going to replace this with another factory rudder handle. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to expand a little bit. Now, Sean had mentioned a Facebook group where there is a group of people who make rudder handles and all kinds of kayak parts, like to order, custom, And he's like, yeah, they're a little bit pricey, but, join this group and set it up. So I immediately joined the group. Was waiting on this to happen, and I'm like, in the meantime, I'm going to shop around. So I looked around online to see where I could track down this Burley Pro stuff, and I was like, I just got to get this done. I looked at Burley Pro's website, and it was telling me where stuff was in stock, and Three Bells couldn't help me here, which kind of sucked. But I still would have to drive, an hour and a half to go be able to pick it up. So I found a retailer in Texas that had that at a 30% off sale.
Score.
Big score. So I'm like, let's go ahead and get that. And I was like, oh, wait, it's all Burley Pro? So there's a little like suicide knob attachment that you can put on the handle and make it like that much more of a smooth steering operation. I'm like, well, it's 30% off. It was cheap as hell. I'm like, I'm going to add that on there. And then I needed to get for my electronics. I don't have a visor that covers it. And one of the only gripes about using my electronics is in the sun. And I'm like, that would help a lot. So I picked up one of those from Burley Pro too. And I'm going to be rigging, I think Tuesday is going to be the day. I'm going to put all this stuff together and get things ready. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The green machine will be back on the water shortly. That is good. So then, I ordered this stuff on Wednesday. Thursday, I decided to just kind of take it easy. I think I ran some errands, got a few things done, hung out with the wife. And because she starts work, she's a school nurse. She starts work tomorrow, which is great. So she's going back to work tomorrow. And she's like, I've got nothing going on. Actually, she had to go into the office on Friday for like 4 hours. She goes, you want to drop me off? I was like, sure thing. Because I knew that was going to buy me a few hours to bankfish. So I hit Google Maps and I found a spot in Connecticut that I just kind of wanted to eyeball, to go with a buddy of mine that bankfishes almost exclusively. I'm like, oh, this could be kind of cool, throw in the mix. And I get over there, and this is one of these things. It's a canal that runs alongside the river, and there's a head end at the canal, an intake. So water is coming in, and it's the difference in current is crazy. It is so much slower in that canal. But the weeds that are there, you can all see they're kind of at an angle, So it's still moving water. I go, and I'm right over here, and this is probably, 20 to 25 foot elevated platform that there's a bridge that crosses over the canal, and then there's like a rail trail that goes between the river and the canal. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll just start right here at the base. We'll see if we can catch any fish. I caught 4, like good sized fish, all over 14 inches. They were eating jigs. I started out throwing a swim jig in there. Got a real big bite. 2 of the 4 had shaken off during my elevator ride up to the platform. So it's like, okay. I had gone down the trail to see if I could find some other spots, and unless I was looking at like breaking a leg or getting poison ivy, it wasn't happening. Just way, way too steep and way too treacherous to get to some spots that were just so tiny that if you weren't walking right up on fish, like there's no real way to cast and kind of cover any water. Well, as luck would have it, I went back over to that one spot, and I was like, I'm just going to throw another jig there and see what happens. Catch another one. It's like, okay. Like, I wish I could get down over on the other side. I wonder if that's a possibility. I walk back over the bridge, over the canal, and, I could go to my right and go up to the parking lot where I'd parked. And in my mind, I had like imagined that there was a fence that was keeping me from going to the left. I was wrong. So I went down there and I was just throwing jigs. I downsized. I threw a really small, like a 1/4 ounce football head jig with a, what was it? A chigger craw. And like, they were just killing it. In fact, I had to change out the jig because the first bite on that, and this skirt's lived some life, but the fish broke the band that my skirt was that was holding my skirt together. So, caught one then. No, I caught a couple over there. Left for the day. Met up with my buddy Paul. I've talked about him on the show many times. Paul and I decided we were going to bank fish and crush a few beers, and we went over to one of our little spots that typically pays off pretty well. I caught one right at dusk. We didn't hook into anything else for the rest of the day. Got a couple of nibbles on slow moving baits, but man, it was a bitch. Like I drop shotted, they wouldn't eat anything. They just would not eat. I don't know what it was. I think that we were kind of in the middle of that cold front, kind of moving in, and I think that just turned them off like lockjaw. And then Saturday, I went to go see Gojira and Mastodon and Lorna Shore up in Portland, Maine, with Nelson and Sean, and we had ourselves a good time. We had ourselves a real good time. In fact, you guys that are listening to this podcast right now, this episode, the artwork that's featured there, that picture was taken by, I think, probably one of the best photographers in my knowledge, the one and only Nelson DaCosta. And I hope you guys enjoy his artistic eye. I'll show you guys what the artwork will be. Of course, low battery. That's not going to be the artwork.
That's awesome.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, that was my week for what it is. That was my week. How about you, Joe? What's going on?
All right. So sorry, I got the hiccups, so it's gonna be funny. So Sunday we recorded and we talked about, I know you guys were taking a trip to Onoda, and I was planning on going to the Connecticut River, which I did.
Nice.
So I went to Connecticut River, got on in Barton Cove, and I basically went north towards Northfield. Did okay. Caught a couple like kind of cookie cutter smallies. Yeah. The current was crazy. The current was tough. I mean, at one point, I think I threw on a 3/4 ounce. I was running a drop shot. I threw on a 3/4 ounce weight, and it was still dragging it down on the bottom. So it was tough. I ended up getting. I did find. I'm going back there tomorrow, but I did find a lay down about 16 feet of water. I found some timber, like a down tree, and 16 feet of water.
Yep. With
my live scope. And I saw some fish laying on it. I saw the fish on it with my live scope, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave them alone. You know, it's like in my mind, I'm like, oh man, I found this awesome thing. 100 people probably know it's there because I just randomly like stumbled upon it. Yep. But I'm gonna actually try to fish it tomorrow and see if I can get anything off it. But yeah, I caught a few cookie cutter smallies. I did. This is actually kind of embarrassing to say, but I actually caught a species for the first time. I realized when I caught it, I was like, holy shit, I never caught one of these before.
You already embarrassed yourself earlier by saying you're throwing a drop shot. So nothing more embarrassing than that. That's cool. I know people are.
Hey man, when the grind is the grind, you got to do what you got to do.
I'm kidding. See, I love the Ned rig, so I get enough.
I was throwing a net, and so I was throwing a Ned, and I caught a couple walleye off it. It's the first time
that was your species,
ever caught walleye.
No kidding.
That's a new species for me.
I've never.
I didn't realize it till I caught it. I was like, holy shit, I don't think I fucking caught one of these before.
Did it feel like a wet sock when you were reeling it in? You're like, why is this thing not doing anything?
So like basically
wet underwear.
Yeah. And it's funny because like in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I saw, it's pretty clear water and he was kind of deeper. And I'm looking and I'm like, because I'm not thinking walleye, and I was like, is that a fucking giant fall fish?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was probably like 14 inches, this one. And no, it was a walleye. I ended up getting onto a couple of them there. I caught smallies on a couple different things. I caught them on a swim jig. I caught them on a jackhammer. And then the net. I was trying to basically, while I was throwing the drop shot, I was trying to figure out the current. I was trying to see what I needed to fish that current, like what weights I had to use and whatnot. Because I unfortunately didn't have a ton to select from on my boat as it was. I wasn't expecting the current to be that strong. Luckily, I did find some breaks and stuff to where I caught a couple. I just could not get into anything of like size.
Yeah.
Anything that like the tournament I have coming up, anything that would have got me anywhere close to that. But yeah, so I did that. I went a pretty good ways up. I probably went, a few miles from the border, from the New Hampshire border. Brought my dog with me, so I had to like randomly stop at random spots to let him piss because he'll sit there and bark it right in my face until I let him go pee.
Fair.
So I was like
at least he does that.
Like the random people's docks, like on the Connecticut River. I'm like, hurry up, kid, and let's go. The weather, I mean, you guys know, I mean, you were out Monday, Bobby. The weather was phenomenal. It was gorgeous out. And I never really fished that portion of the Connecticut before. And like the scenery's awesome. The scenery's phenomenal.
That part of Massachusetts is beautiful.
Like the French King Bridge going under there and stuff. Oh my God, that was phenomenal. So I did that. Got a few, did not quite a full day, but close. Had to go pick up the kid from daycare still, but went and did that, and then I didn't fish again until my Wednesday evening league.
Yep.
Did that. We ended up getting a couple. That was kind of a grind for us that day, for Ryan and I. And it's crazy because like it was Wickabog in West Brookfield.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
You're familiar with it, Bobby. So like that's one of that places I usually like thrive at, and I just could not buy a bite for me that day. We got a couple, but they were, dinks, nothing to call home about. But there's one dude. So we just couldn't figure out where they were. I was like, because I had just been there a couple weeks before, and I'd caught like a 4, a bunch of 2s, and so I was like, dude, we got this. Like, we're gonna be fine. No, they were not anywhere near that where they were that 2 weeks before. Water temperature had gone down quite a bit, and being like 5 degrees, but the guy who got it actually was catching them in like 12 to 13 feet of water on like neds and drop shots.
Really?
Like, yeah, he got 2-4. His bag was like 17 pounds.
Okay.
5 fish. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is crazy for that place.
Yeah, I would say so.
And never in my mind would I thought that those big fish were that deep already. But up here, every lake fishes differently, and everything's kind of all screwed up this year. So
I was gonna say, like, this weather that we've been having, like our water temps, like I'm not sure, Debo, where your water temps are at right now, but like I think where you're at and where we are, we're kind of on a very close our lines of latitude. I think we are. Our water temps, like I'm seeing like 72 to 74. Right, the look on his face, exactly.
We were out on the boat. That would have been last weekend. I think it was 84 or 85 where we were at.
Yeah, we haven't touched that. I mean, typically we do. Typically we hit those low 80s. We haven't touched 80 yet this year, and I think it's just all the rain we got, and just keeping those water temperatures low.
Oh my God,
we haven't gotten any.
We've gotten a shit ton of rain, and it's kind of made our fishing kind of screw it. Like everything I typically would do for some of these bodies of water just not been right this year. So it's like these body, like for that body of water, it's like all these bodies of water that I feel like I have figured out are fishing completely different than they ever did. They're kind of late right now. They're fishing a lot later than they should be. So yeah, we got a couple there. That was the only fishing I did this week.
Yep.
I did a lot of maintenance, like gear and reel maintenance and shit today to get ready. And I'm actually heading back up the Connecticut River north this tomorrow morning. Gonna drop the little one off at daycare. And actually the wife and I are going up there. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, but I'm gonna do the run tomorrow, and I'm gonna go all the way through New Hampshire to there. probably like 10, 15 miles into New Hampshire. There's a hydroelectric dam. I'm going to start there and just work my way down.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
That's not a bad idea at all.
Yep. So I'm just going to do that. The wife hates when I go fast in the boat, but I told her, I was like, just freaking saddle up because we got to make it up there.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Good time. Yep.
Nice.
So,
dude, that's one hell of a day.
Yeah. So that was my week in a nutshell. Looking forward to tomorrow. Like I said, I was just kind of doing some maintenance, and as we record this, I'm still kind of fucking around here in my workshop trying to get shit ready. So
it's funny you mentioned the French King Bridge specifically because I'll tell you, my dad has stories about all types of fishing outings up there, and like that was the spot for
no shit
years ago. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it gets fished now. I know. It's kind of the spot for jumpers.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, that bitch is high up there.
It is up there. Oh, yeah. It's kind of a different kind of spot, but yeah, it's the kind of bridge where like if you're walking and you look over, I don't care who you are, your knees are going to buckle.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It's
going underneath it, I think I took a picture. I think I threw it up on like Instagram or something.
Yep.
Yeah, I rounded that. It's crazy because you're like, as you're going in, it's almost like a Jurassic Park-esque like scene where you're like, you don't see it, and all of a sudden you round this corner and it's fucking right there. It's like you're like, so you're just yeah. So if you've never seen it before, never done that, you're like, holy shit, like that's pretty odd. But it's like. But just like that whole river, like going down, there's streams coming down from everywhere, and it's just like, even if you don't catch a goddamn thing, it's just it's a cool, relaxing outing to be on.
Yeah, nice. I love it, Debo. How was your last week of fishing and fishing related everything?
Dude, it's been one of the least amount of fishing years I've been able to do, just between kid stuff and work.
Yep, definitely does it.
I got out yesterday, caught some. It was fun because I caught them on some of my paddle tails that I made of my own, so that was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just a little jig head paddle tail. It was finesse. I mean, we had wind in the morning, a little bit of cloud cover. Thought for sure it was going to be a topwater day. Nothing, not even a sniff on it. I switched over first, cast that paddle tail, boom. I caught, I think, I don't know, 7 or 8 in a spot, and then the rest of it was dead. But kind of like Joe was saying, everything is fishing so different because the past couple years, everything is so low. Like we've just had no rain the past few years, doing so much bank fishing that I do, all the spots that I used to hit with places like 3 feet low, it's moved everything off to like the normal spots where I'd normally hit. Like, okay, there's a drop off here, and if it was 3 foot higher, they'd be sitting out in 6 foot of water. Well, now that it's 3 foot down and it's only 3 foot to the bottom of that, like that's the complete edge of the drop. Or that whole big tree that was 3 feet underwater before is now, exposed. There's nothing on it because it's sitting in 6 inches, So it's like all these places fish way different. And I feel like if, you had a boat or a kayak or something, you could get out to a lot of them. I've got a John boat, but some of these you can't launch that way. You'd need a little yak or something to get in there. But yeah, that's about it. I've been doing some bait making, tinkering around. I fired up the airbrush again, so I've been painting some baits. I hadn't done that for like 6 months, so just kind of tinkering inside while I can.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
freaking awesome. You had one hell of a live stream the other night.
Fun live stream.
That was really good. I was watching the
guys. We had them on.
Yep,
super cool dudes.
Other New Englanders. I love it. Those other New Englanders.
yeah. Bunch of North talk of like, the finesse stuff as what I thought it was going to be. Then we completely transitioned over into big baits. I didn't realize they were that big into the big bait stuff. So that was fun because that's completely foreign to me. I mean, I've got some big baits. I throw some, but dude, I suck at them. I just have no confidence in throwing them. So
that's the three of us should go on tour together because that's exactly what it is. I love the idea, and I will always have some big baits with me. To try to, get on that bite. And, I've caught big fish on is in fact, one of the baits that you were talking about with them was the Mr. Tightline's Bruce Gillis. I've caught between that and the BBZ Rat, I've caught probably the most fish on any of the big baits, like the big wake baits, stuff like that. But yeah, it's crazy. Just the confidence just isn't necessarily there yet. However, I did go out after our conversation for last week's show. We were talking about Mike Bucca. And I tied on my bullshit. I was like, we'll give it a shot. We'll see what comes of it. I thought I was going to land to maybe a decent pike with it or something. But, man, the control on that bait is crazy. We talked about it in last week's show, and it's just like you can really – it's almost like having an RC car underwater. Like you're just like bing, 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 bing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I think – I think why our confidence sucks so bad up here is like, again, we've said it a million times on the show, but it's for us, it's the bait of 1,000 casts, you know, and I just don't have the patience for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's more because my ADD won't let me, you know, get comfortable with them. But yeah, you know, we just don't have the quality of fish that, you know, Texas, Florida, those states have that, you know, more fish are going to hit those baits. So it's like, they're in there and it's going to be fruitful when you do catch one. But, you know, me just not having the patience, typically going out, you know, pre-fishing for a tournament or something like that. It's not logical for me right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
I'm kind of the same way, you know, with being, you know, trying to get YouTube videos out. I don't get to fish all the time, you know, maybe 3 days a week. If it's a good week. Lately, it's been 1 day a week is all, you know?
Yeah. That's
so
tough.
Yeah, you know, I would rather go out and catch 10 pound and a half, 2 pounders than one, you know, 4 or 5 pounder on a bait, throwing it all day long. Because then at the end of the day, what do I have to show for it? You know, Would you want to watch a 10-minute video of me casting around a big bait for 10 minutes until I finally catch one? Or some people would, you know, but I'd rather go catch fish and have fun. So,
and it all depends too on like the creator too. Like if you're creating a video of that, like how you got to be one hell of a storyteller to make.
That's exactly
grinding. Finding that one fish,
Yep.
it's a challenge. It really is. And I've thought about it before. Like I've done this with this show before, where I think like the first year that I was fishing, my big thing was I didn't understand drop shotting. I just didn't get it, and I was, you know, one of those things where I put together a combo that I could dedicate to using, to having one tied on all the time, not have to worry about putting, you know. About having, you know, to mess around. This way I just had a combo that I like to drop shot with. And that was a smart thing to do because I did build a whole lot of confidence with it. In fact, catching my PB with it. And then, you know, the following year, it was more so building my confidence out of the kayak and really almost like pushing myself to be in the kayak as often as possible. Then it was catching a bowfin. That was last year, and I limited myself to one body of water where I knew that there were bowfin, and I succeeded there. Maybe next year I just bring out that one swim bait rod, and that's what I do. I mean, it'll totally.
You almost got to, because I'll give it like kind of like Joe was saying. I'll give it like 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and I'm like, F this. I just want to go catch some fish. So
that's exactly it. I'm like, oh, if they're not eating this, then I guess I'm going to throw this in instead. I've done it before, like where I've just taken a day, and I'm like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this. In fact, that's when I bring out the big box with all the swim baits, like the briefcase, you know. And I'm like, this way I got it all. I'm good to go. But I'm like, this is also not exactly, if they're not biting, it's really, really difficult, and especially if I'm on the kayak, to be like, I'm gonna downsize and throw you know a giant swim jig, but you know, maybe we'll see if that'll get bit. I don't know. I just don't know. I did have some fun, Debo, with some folks on Instagram. A couple of people had sent over some clips. And I'm going to go ahead, actually, we'll just kind of transition over to this. I got, is it two? No, I have two different ones. I have one that was a clip somebody had called in with, and then another one is through a DM, and I'll go through that afterwards. So this here is from Matt Thayer over at Klondike Custom Creations.
What's happening, gentlemen? This is Matt from, you know, that Klondike guy, you know, the Klondike stuff, spinnerbaits, whatever. Question for Mr. Debo. He says, cast a wood, catch a fish, pitch the wood, whatever, see wood, pitch wood. He likes wood. Anyways, I'm a wood connoisseur myself.
He is.
What kind of wood are we pitching to? Hardwood, softwood, cherry, maple, pine, poplar, southern yellow pine. Is Debo an exotic wood kind of guy? Some like rich mahogany or
What a
some
dork.
Ipe, maybe some wingay. No, just figured I'd ask. All right. See you guys. Good to hear from you. Bye.
I imagine.
Matt, what a nerd.
I imagine.
So,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so I don't nerd out over wood the way you nerd out. And I think you like wood way more than me. And that wood might turn into different wood. I don't discriminate when it comes to fishing wood. You find wood, pitch to wood. Yeah, man, here in the Midwest, we have like a lot of different ways to fish. So I'm blessed to be able to find all sorts of different woods. To name them, no, it's kind of like the aquatic vegetation. I just make up names because I don't know what the hell half it's called. Like, oh, that's the coontail stuff we say looks like. Oh, that's the snodgrass or the brittle braid or hell, I don't know. We just make up names. But
yeah, exactly.
Man, yeah, I don't know.
That is freaking wood. Yeah, I imagine that Matt probably was like, throwing a bunch of different plugs on the lathe and getting things ready, big production, all that stuff. And, wanted to probably relax a little bit, cracked open a few barley pops, and then he's like standing there like slow dancing with a giant 2x6. And he's like, I'm going to call and leave a fucking question for these guys. There we go.
I got my 6-foot piece of mahogany here. And give you a call.
Is he an exotic? The way he went in transition, he was like cherry. Immediately, I'm like, he's trying to sell you cabinets, dude. He's trying to sell you cabinetry. Oh, I love it. I love it. Matt, thank you. Appreciate you, buddy. If you guys haven't checked out Klondike Custom Creations, go for it. They're my favorite spinnerbaits, 100%. In fact, I should probably pick up a rat from Matt. I'm a poet. I didn't even freaking know it. I should probably pick up a rat just to fool around a little bit there. But we do have another question. This one came in via DM, and this was from someone that you know over at Brown Bait Co. from Brendan Brown. He wants to know.
Can only imagine.
Yeah, he's asking. He says, "How long did it take to find a good quality fake beard?" And he insisted, he said, make sure that he knows this question was from me.
Well, so the reason he's jealous, he hasn't even hit puberty yet. Once he starts to grow hair in his strawberries, he'll know what it's about, to have some facial hair and such. Yeah, Brendan, he's funny. So he's referring to, I had some prick on an old video. It was like, who the hell would listen to this guy? This dude doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. And it looks like he's got a fake beard. That guy's probably wearing a fake beard or something like that. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, are you that bored that you find random people on YouTube and accuse them of having fake beards? Like, listen, there's a lot of other stuff that I would fake before it'd be a beard. So no, this is all natural, nerd. Yeah, no, awesome. I don't even know what to say, Brennan. I mean, this is all natural. One day when you hit, these years, you'll start to grow some hair. Don't be too jealous, buddy.
That's fantastic.
He's only like 18. If you know Brendan Brown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's only freaking 18. You can't even
awesome.
Legally go have a beer with him.
He's making
pretty awesome swim baits and
good looking fucking swim baits though. I was skulking around his Instagram. I'm like, oh, this guy's got the juice. We might have to have him on. Kid. You know what I'll do? I know what we're gonna do. You and me, we're gonna get together with Alex Rudd, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna school him on beards. Beard care.
Oh God.
You know what I mean? And this way
he would just,
when it starts sprouting for Brendan, he'll be ready.
He'd have to borrow some mahogany from Matt for that.
Some mahogany,
yeah. Complete wood burner right there.
What we'll talk to Nelson. Next time Nelson gets into gets into a wild boar, we'll have him keep some of the bristles, and we'll make a brush out of some fine mahogany. It'll be just a big collab. Everybody will work. It'll be awesome. It'll be great. It's odd because I got this message from Brendan. This was last night. I'm going to be honest with you, Brendan. I am amazed that I remembered to mention this in the show because in the condition I was in last night watching Mastodon, I am floored that I comprehend this even coming in. But there was somebody who had messaged me. His name's Tom. And he messaged me and he was like, he put up a post. And he was like, Bobby Roast Beef, You have an epic beard, like me. He's like, we should have a beard off. And I'm like,
the fuck is a beard off?
I've heard of chili cook-offs, fishing derbies, all kinds of stuff. What is a beard off? Then he said, he's like, you have a larger following. He's like, you probably know how to put a poll together. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to do it. I don't give a shit. Fuck it. We'll have some fun.
You know what beard off, right, is where you tie your beards together and you pull and see the first person to give, right?
It's like a tug of war.
Yeah. First person's either gives or their beard rips off. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, that's not fun. That's not good. That's not good. That's not going to happen. Oh, God. My goodness. Oh, well, that was fun. That was a whole lot of fun. Oh, wait a minute. We have to hear from Sean for his week. So Sean called the hotline, and he gave us some information about his week.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm not there for the show tonight. We're going to give you guys a little call, leave a little message. We got something to chew on in my absence. Got out a couple times this week. Got out to the Berkshires, up to Shears, with my man Roast Beef. We didn't do too well. A couple small pike, a little pickerel, crankbait over a wheat bed, tons of lake lice. Good time had by all. And then I got out with Nelson for a little while over to Central Mass Lake, and we did okay. Nelson kind of kicked my ass. I had to pay for dinner, but the noted thing was I performed a rescue. There was a pickerel that was dead by the shore that a family. I had a Diet Coke. Anyway, I'm here at Bar Taco, by the way. I'm going to have to let that intercede. There was a pickerel dead with a 6-inch bluegill in its mouth. The bluegill was still alive. I was able to rescue said bluegill, set him free, and then fire the pickerel up on the shore for the snapper turtles to deal with. Bobby and I had a concert last night, too, and I'm at a concert again tonight, so I'll be back next week. You guys had some fun with this message, and thanks to Debo for jumping in. Joe and Bobby, I'll talk to you guys this week, and Jigheads, misbehave, please. Talk to you guys later.
Well, that was fantastic, Sean. Thank you.
That was the best. That was the best week that anyone ever could have had.
That was amazing.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
That sounds
impressive. Like fun.
It does. It does sound like fun. All right. Well, I mean, I think as far as segment number 1 goes, I think we've pretty much kind of covered everything that we needed to kind of hit. It sounds like we heard from Matt. We heard from Brendan. Guys, we are going to take a very, very short break. Segment 2, you're going to be hearing, there's a little bit of flip-flop that's going to be happening. Oh, actually, no. Before we go to this, I want to make sure we talk about this because Jigs and Bigs is sort of going on the road. We have some stuff coming up that is in early 2024. We're going to be launching a couple of dates your way, but I just kind of want to share with everybody that Jigs and Bigs is going on the road for 2 live shows. One of them locally here in New England, and that's coming up on our 200th episode celebration. So the 200th episode, we're like just getting, we're creeping ever closer to it. That 200th episode is going to be a game dinner in Chicopee, Massachusetts. We're expecting a lot of the same stuff that we did last year, where we're trying to incorporate the virtual vendor card so that we can have really great brands that we're close with. And, we want to offer you guys some, hopefully maybe some discounts or some specials or something like that. But we can work with them so you'll be able to get access to them at the event. We're also going to do some door prizes. We talked about maybe doing a raffle, as well as all kinds of good stuff. But the game dinner itself, this is amazing. So details coming about that. That's coming up in mid-January. Details coming up. That's the 200th episode. But we have just kind of nailed this down that who the fuck is Joe Brown and myself? We're going to Columbus, Ohio, baby. The Columbus Fishing Expo is happening in February. It's Super Bowl weekend, which, I mean, I think I'm probably the least football guy out there. I give 0 fucks about sports whatsoever. So the idea of going to a fishing expo on Super Bowl weekend is like, yes, I'm here for it. But in order to make it doable, we are going to be doing a live show recording right there, where our keynote sponsor for that event is none other than
Dark Horse motherfucking Tackle.
And that means that there's going to be, we're going to have amazing shit lined up for you. You're not going to want to miss out. We're, of course, hoping to do a lot of networking with folks that are at the expo itself. So, yeah, we're going to be in Ohio, seeing what Ohio is all about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I was watching Gojira last night, and the lead singer said, you know, for this next song, guys, we want to know exactly what Maine is all about. And I looked over at Nelson and I said,
if they're about to start pelting them with lobsters and blueberries, I'm here for it.
you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. You know, I'm here for it. Lobsters and blueberries. That's what Maine is all about. What's Columbus all about? We'll find out. You're not going to want to miss it, guys. We have one. No, I guess that's really it. Those are the 2 dates.
Yep.
Those are the 2 events that we have coming up. So you're not going to want to miss it. We will see you guys in just a couple of minutes. We got much more good stuff coming up from Jigs and Bigs. We're flipping the script on segment number 2. We're going to start out with Bait of the Week, the big mystery. What's the brand we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to hone in on just the tip based on that. So this could be very, very interesting, guys. Don't go too far. Much more good Jigs and Bigs coming up right after this. Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one with the impeccable taste in fishing podcasts. Bobby Roast Beef here with a little call to action for all Jigs and Bigs listeners. We're opening up our hotline to you. Now you can call us to sound off about almost anything at 413-324-8519. Want to submit someone for our FTG segment? Call us at 413-324-8519. Care to maybe suggest a topic for Just the Tip or Bait of the Week? Call us at 413-324-8519. Maybe you just want to give us or anyone else a little shout out on the show, or you want to suggest a guest for the beef seat. You guessed it. Call us at 413-324-8519. The Jigs and Bigs hotline is there for you to leave a message with us 24/7. Just call 413-324-8519. Also, you can check that number in the notes of this podcast. This is an official press release from Dark Horse Tackle. Dark Horse Tackle has a new website. Be on the lookout for an email from Dark Horse Tackle explaining how to move your subscription. There will also be a letter in your next box explaining how to move your subscription to the new website. Our former host platform, Cratejoy, inflicted outrageous fees on Dark Horse Tackle and made it almost impossible for us to continue to support American small business bait and tackle makers. It is vital that customers get their subscriptions moved to the new site by the following steps provided. Customers that move their subscriptions to the new site will be rewarded with a 50% off code for the brand new Build Your Own Box feature. For Jigs and Bigs listeners new to Dark Horse Tackle, the code is JNBBYOB25 for 25% off of a BYOB. Jig heads new to the Dark Horse Tackle family will receive a more substantial discount for the BYOB feature. The BYOB inventory grows with new bait drops on the 10th of every month. Make sure to check the notes of this podcast right now for that promo code and a link to Dark Horse Tackle.
Jigs and Bigs, Bait of the Week.
I like this. The excitement, the anticipation, because we don't know what the bait of the week that is what we're talking about here. You know, last week we talked about Mike Buka and Buka Baits. What's the brand we're going to talk about here? And this is going to transition into Just the Tip. This could be interesting. This could be very interesting.
Good. All right. I'm gonna hit it now.
Spin that sumbitch.
Let's go. So many on here.
Sean the Fisherman is texting as we're recording this from the show to the host chat. Like, he's not just sending information on the side like, oh yeah, get this. He's like, no. I want to interrupt both of these guys while they record this podcast. I love it. I freaking love it.
All right, guys. So
what do we got
right now? We the problem we had is I had an ad because I'm too cheap to pay for it. Are you ready?
Okay. What do
we got it right here.
Oh, Z-Man.
Z-Man.
Yes. I love to talk about Z-Man.
Let's talk Z-Man.
So let's do like a little round table. Like, what's everybody's hot take on Z-Man?
Mine, Z-Man's legit. They have great products. I love a ton of their shit. Not much I don't like. What I do love is the fact that it looks like they're kind of parting ways from Evergreen with the jackhammer and doing and essentially it's essentially going to be a jackhammer at a lower price because they don't have to pay Evergreen their royalty costs. Because I love me some jackhammers. The Elaztecs, I love them and hate them. They work well for me. But it's like they're little, but at the same time, when it comes to storage and everything like that, they're a little bit of fucking high maintenance for my liking. But man, do they work? Yeah. I mean, I love the TRDs for certain setups. I love their stick baits for certain shit. And but my number one Z-Man product is their chatterbaits, and to pinpoint it, I love the jackhammer.
Yep.
And
fair.
And I'm going to throw people off with this one. So you have the standard jackhammer and you have the stealth blade, right?
Yes. Yep.
I fucking love the stealth blade.
Really?
That is my go-to. Oh, people don't do it. That's even. I love Debo's reaction, but Bobby's reaction is one I usually get. I'm
surprised.
The stealth blade is my go-to.
Huh.
Yep.
I never really.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I've never thrown one. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big bladed jig guy for the most part.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it a little bit more of a common visitor in the wheelhouse. I always have one available, like if that's the bite that I need, but or if that's the presentation that they want, then yeah, I've always got one available. I generally, if I'm throwing them, it's because I'm junk fishing a lot of the time. And I've been in the last couple of weeks, we talked about chatterbaits, and I've been trying to get more into that. I personally like to throw a lot of the smaller chatterbaits. Like my go-to from them is the Minimax.
Okay.
That's my go-to from them. I mean, I've found actually better success on smaller chatterbaits, but that doesn't mean anything, What about you, Debo? What are your thoughts on Z-Man overall?
Man, I don't know that I would disagree with anything that Joe said. I mean, they're kind of a pain in the ass to rig up sometimes, but once you get them on, they last essentially forever until, there's that one weird one that rips it. Does not play well with plastisol plastics. So when you have your normal plastisols. And one thing that I figured out too that I never knew. So when you buy a like a Flambeau or a whatever, when you buy a box, the oils, and this is something that I was looking at out like on my microwave and stuff, and it kind of clicked after I heard somebody else. I don't remember who it was. I wish I could give them credit, but after you get the oils from plastisol in one of these boxes, even if you put a Elaztec in it, it will still react and melt. So you might have like certain plastics where it'll melt to the box or other cases.
Yep.
No shit. I did not know that.
Yeah. So they call it a virgin box. If you're going to put I don't ever do that. Fishing in backpacks and like these things, I'll keep extra ones of these.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, in the truck, like a little KVD Plano deal that you can,
Yep.
So I'm not carrying all the stuff with me, but I'll undo it and go back to the truck. But it's all plastics in the actual bags. But if you're going to take Elaztecs out and put them in a box, make sure it's a virgin box that has had nothing else in it.
I know. Would never even thought about that. That's
neither
crazy.
would I. So yeah, that's a little tip for Elaztec stuff. It doesn't even play well with the slimy residue left over by some plastics.
I always kind of thought that the boxes were the plastic that they were made of itself was reacting with. I didn't realize it had to do with there being other baits in there. I might, because I treat my Z-Man plastics differently than I treat everything else. In fact, like if they're similar body shapes, I'll mix them together. So like the big TRDs and the jerk shads, those will go in a separate, like I'll put all of them in one bag, and then I'll have one bag that's like a bunch of Z-Man stuff and I can pick out the stuff that I need. Yeah. That's like bank fishing. Like, okay, here's my Z-Man pouch. It's good. But I'll tell you, for me, the bait that I think is the best thing going, for a long time, it was the goat. Now it's the goat toads.
Yeah.
I think that is the best buzz toad on the market. Just
I haven't put enough time in with that.
For my 2 cents.
I use the goats, but not the.
Yeah, I don't think the goats I've used. I actually was just fucking with a pack of them today, actually. And I like those, but I've never used any of the toad shit.
The goat toad has more of a, it's basically got the goat style legs, but the body is a little chonkier and it's got that hook slit under there, so you can actually rig it a couple of different ways, and it's pretty slick. But it's just got it's a little bit more of a beefy body versus the goat. I think the goat is like, that's one of my favorite buzzbait trailers. You know,
I can see that. Awesome. That's how I used it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. I love that, and I love the goat toads are great. I have
jigs. We should try one on there too, because an old school secret that we used to throw around here, which it's not really a secret, but like a horny toad on the back of a swim jig, especially if you're around a bunch of wood, because it keeps it flat. So you get hung up when your bait rolls over, but even like this, it stays
keeps
up,
it flat.
So.
Yep. Yeah, I just picked up some goat toads recently, and I love them. I absolutely love them, and I do. When it comes to frogging, like, I don't throw a typical hollow-bodied frog all that often. I throw like a buzz toad a lot. And the reason why I like the
are you talking like buzz toad, like buzz bait, naked buzz bait with a toad on it? Or are you talking like just a soft plastic toad by itself, like a rage toad or
like exactly like a Zoom horny toad style, like on like an EWG. Yep, exactly. And I know there are better hooks that I could be using on there, like the screw lock swim bait hooks. Those are much better. But with the goat, it just like I like Ryan said, like the butcher had said. You know, he's like, they just last forever. You just reposition on the hook, you're good to go. I throw those quite a bit. I also throw the jerk shads a lot as like a super finessey topwater on a really, really light hook, like where you don't have much crap on the weeds, but like you can walk that real subtly, you know? There is a spinnerbait. Matt Thayer, don't listen to this. There is a spinnerbait that I have caught ridiculous numbers of fish on. And I like it because the wire is so resilient. You know, like I've thrown it. This is the spinnerbait that I will throw without even thinking into the biggest mess of, you know, a laydown, getting into all kinds of branches and everything. And it's just, it's awesome. I had 1 1/4 inch, 1 1/4 ounce and 1 1/2. I've lost the 1/4 inch one. The color's great too. It's a perch color and it's got a nice bright orange, like under the head, like in that belly, like the skirt. It's awesome. And then like, you know, the chatterbait just in general is just, it's a great bait. That mini max though I'm sold on. What do we got?
Yeah, I don't think I've thrown the mini max before. I can't.
No? Oh, it's
not that. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have. I don't think I even own one.
And I mean, you know, if we're being honest here, if I had the choice between a mini max and like a jackal finesse bladed jig, I'm going with the jackal because it's that much smaller. Of course. And but
it's, you know, the Z-Man kind of became the godfather of the whole bladed jig game. Yeah, you know, and it's funny because a couple weeks ago we were talking. I was like, man, I just, you know, I love the bladed jigs. I just have not been having much luck with them. And, you know, we talked to Sean about it, and I started throwing them again, and I've been doing real well on them again.
Really? Good for you, man.
Yeah, so I built my confidence back up with that. So I've been doing real well with them. Found a color I really like, and
it'll be interesting to see. You were talking about the whole decommissioning of the evergreen deal. I don't know how all that's going to shake out, but I'm pretty sure the patent's running out too. So like Z-Man has a thing where like they have the patent on selling, you know, the jig that is, I don't have one here, that's directly connected to the blade from the jig. So there's no split ring or anything there. So if that runs out, I don't know how patents work and like if they can redo it or if it stops. You know, it'll be interesting to see what other companies put out. You know, people have tried to get around that, like the Berkeley slobber knocker, for example, where it's a molded head with a straight pin. You know, I don't know how different they have to be to get around it, but seeing what else will kind of come out of that will be kind of interesting, I think.
I actually didn't know that the patent runs out. That's new news to me. So I agree.
Yeah.
That's people. I guarantee you, there's 100 companies out there right now that have the countdown going on to
loaded
that patent
and cocked,
running out, and
just
ready to
waiting.
go.
Yep.
And they're just gonna get fucking wild.
Yeah, it is crazy because like you look at like the Guggen clickbait. Like their system is totally different than anything. Like there's an arm that comes up with like beads and it holds the blade in place. And I'll be honest with you, that thing freaking shatters like hell.
I've caught some nice fish on the fucking Guggen clickbait.
Yeah.
I just don't admit it very often.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you guys fishing it more of like a buzzbait up top? Because like everybody, and we tested a couple, like everybody that I've read is you have to like finagle it to get it to run right and stuff. And like, I thought they were horrible as chatterbaits, but like you could run it just subsurface as like a type of buzzbait almost.
I was use them as like a boat to bank, like so same concept really. You know, when throwing it into pretty shallow water. I haven't thrown them in a couple years, just because I got onto the stealth blade. But I did pretty well with them. But you're right, like so. One thing that I really like to do is if I'm finding fish suspended in a column, I will, throw certain baits at them, like to try to get them to, I can watch it sink and buzz them through. But the clickbait kind of, once it gets down into the water column a little bit, it starts to be kind of garbage, and you don't get that motion that you should be getting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it blows out, but like that's kind of one of the things that. So like you're talking about the stealth blade. So in messing with that, because people still to this day, I will argue it that paddle tails on a chatterbait are still amazing, and the thing that people don't understand is like different paddle tails have different actions with different resistances. Because people say, well, I put a paddle tail on the back of my chatterbait and it just kept coming up to the top. I couldn't get it to stay down. Well, you've probably got something with too much resistance, or you're not going with heavy enough chatterbait. Bank fishing, it's like, I go with a 3/8. That's all I throw. Well, you might need to bump up to a half ounce if you're in a little bit bigger paddle tail, or run something like this. People at home can't really see it, but like you were talking about the stealth blade, and people are like, oh, it has no bump to it. And this is just like a little finesse. This is a Kitech mono spin with like a sonar minnow on it and bouncing something like this. Finesse jig. But like you were saying with that stealth blade, you can run a straight tail. Like a fluke is what I was throwing on. I cut down fluke. Now they've got so many different types of straight baits you could put on, and that's going to allow it to get down. There's way less resistance. So
exactly
with that, you can really change.
I feel like that's part of the reason why the spunk shad got so popular, became such a buzzword, is because it's just got that perfect, like it comes down to a needlepoint shape. It's funny though, like I was saying on the Mini Max, that little fluke Debo is exactly like that style minnow bait is what I was using on a trailer there. And it's like, it does nothing, but at the same time, it does nothing on its own, but that blade causes it to twitch constantly. Like it's
very erratic.
It's unbelievable. And I've actually used a Helamite when I didn't have another one handy.
Really?
Yeah. And it was great on that sucker. It was great, dude.
I did use a Helamite so it's funny, not to get off topic, but Nate Shagnow's like, and we've talked to Tony, he's like, try it on a drop shot. And it's like, me, like I only, Bobby, I only vertical fish I only vertical video game fish drop shot. That's the only time I drop shot. And I was like, you know what? I'll fucking I have them right here. I'll give it a try. And I caught, I mean, nothing big, but I mean, they hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They hit it for sure.
Debo, have you ever used any of the fresh bait stuff? The Scorpion or the Helamite or anything like that? I think you might like it, especially like you and Randizzle, like with finesse jigs. I think you guys might really like that bait.
And it was who?
That's fresh baits.
Fresh baits.
BAITZ. Yep. They're friends of ours, friends of the show. They're awesome people. They're local to us,
and they really do make real innovative plastics. It's funny that what was it, Tuesday? Wednesday when I was out before my rudder broke. That one swipe that I got on that buzzbait, I was using the Beetle as the trailer.
Oh no shit!
Yeah, well, I was like, the way this buzzbait kind of rides, I'm like, I kind of want to put something really wide and flat.
Yeah.
And it worked like a charm. It was great. I could skip with it. It was nice.
Debo, this is their Hellamite. I've caught so many friggin' fish on this thing, especially the smallies.
I was just pulling them up to look. Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's slick. They did at the Connecticut Sportsman's Expo, the Outdoors Expo last year. They had put together like a 3,600 size box with just a huge variety of all the colors, and they called it a drop shot box. It came with tungsten drop shot weights and little like super tiny mosquito hooks. And in the multi-species tournament that we've been doing, the multi-species scavenger hunt, it's been clutch when needing to get some of those like smaller fish that you're just like, I don't normally know how to fish for a white perch or a bluegill and target it specifically. It worked great.
Yeah. The cool thing about fresh baits too is they're UV infused. So they actually react differently with and without sunlight. Almost like color changing shit. It's pretty wild.
Gotcha.
They really are. And
I'm looking at their stuff now. I've seen the scorpion before, like on Instagram and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The scorpion's definitely a niche thing. I have used it as a trailer. I ripped the stinger right off, and I've used it as a trailer and stuff, and have done well. But for me, their stick bait and their Hellamite has been fire for me.
Yeah, just good. It is a challenge to find like real like innovative plastics on the market, specifically plastics. It's tough. Like, how many times can you reinvent a worm or a craw?
Right.
You know, but like I give them a lot of credit. They're really, really like flipping it on the industry as far as some of the stuff that they're doing. You know, and it's not novelty shit. Like the first time I saw the scorpion, I was like, and then I talked to I talked to John and Tony, and I was like, oh, you guys are fucking anglers. I thought you were just in this for. I was like, no, they get it, and it's just it's a interesting spin that they put entirely on. I think it's freaking awesome.
It's just all those appendages moving are just, you know, that's just what attracts the fish.
But
it's just, you know,
I have used that on the Minimax, and it's nice.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
Nate Shagnon, that's all he'll use is a fucking chatterbait trailer. He won't use anything else.
No kidding.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna kill me for telling you that, but
I want to say he's mentioned it on the show before.
I think he has.
Dude.
Yeah.
You know, you got to try that scorpion, try that Hellamite. Yeah, it is. You know, and like, I mean, getting back to Zman, of course, like they offer a full lineup of all kinds of different stuff, you know, but I think there's certain shit that they're known for sure, because of the style of their plastics, love them or hate them. I mean, the one good thing is like, if you need a bait to be buoyant, the Z-Man that's the go-to choice. You know, there's other stuff out there that's buoyant as well, but like this stuff is just, it straight up floats. So there is that element of it as well. But I know like some of the other popular ones, like everybody talks about the TRDs, and they're great, you know, for Ned rigs and stuff. But the hula sticks. The hula sticks are pretty sweet with those tiny little appendages at the very end.
Yeah, those are pretty gnarly. Yep. Yeah, you can use those for a lot of different shit.
And I think they make that in a larger size too.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's anything that has those small appendages on them are just usually pretty good. I mean, at least around here, pretty good bass attractants, because it, you know, with just those little movements, something different.
Yep.
The TRD craws I feel like go under the radar, like throwing those on just like a little finesse Ned rig, especially.
I agree.
Like if there's a craw hatch around here, you'll see all those little tiny craws, you know, skittering around. And we have a bunch of those like big rocky fishing jetties where if you're bank fishing, you know, going to a lighter weight is better, because casting out deep and then bringing it up shallow, you know, up those rocks is a lot different than casting from a boat onto that and, you know, dragging it down rocks. You can go a lot heavier and get away with it. So dropping down to like I think a 10th is the size that I use in the Z-Man. Their weights are a little bit different, but I think it's a 10th is what theirs is, with one of those little craws, just finesse fishing. It can be a killer.
Yeah, I've picked up before a pack or two of the TRD bugs. Those are like super tiny. Like super duper tiny.
A little finesse jig trailer.
Yep. And I think actually it's funny because I've been on a tear with these specific finesse jigs that I discovered through one of the Dark Horse tackle boxes from a company called Giltech. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, Debo. They are dynamite. They have this great like mushroom head with like just it's such a subtle hand-tied skirt. Like it's not too bulky. And the hook is just stickier than hell. And I'm using them right now with these riot baits, like little like nano claws that it's like a tiny, almost looks like a TRD, but the claws don't come out like at the very end. They're somewhere in the mid body. So it's a really compact sort of presentation. And I think that the TRD bugs might actually complement that really, really well too.
It's funny. I actually have the Giltech swimmer right here. This is their swim bait.
Yep.
Their little.
They're soft plastic. That thing is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's. I haven't thrown it yet. I'm actually putting it in my bag to bring out with me tomorrow.
You're gonna love it. I gotta get you that damn Creek box. I am a piece of shit.
You are a piece of shit.
I am a piece of shit.
You blew me off.
Oh, well, and this is so we talked about Z-Man a little bit. We kind of got somewhat into it as far as what what we like about them, like some of the challenges obviously that are out there, and I think that's pretty obvious. But how can we turn this into a tip? Now I'm going to go ahead. We'll transition to just the tip right now.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
It's true.
Bobby and Sean and Joe
and Debo.
And Debo.
I'm here too.
So, I mean, how can we work this? I'm curious how this is going to work. How can we work in a good Z-Man tip for anybody?
I've got two.
You've got two already?
Z-Man tips. I do.
Wow, that's good. Holy shit.
So rigging. So like I said, rigging can be an absolute pain in the butt. And I don't have one here that I could show you. I've got stuff behind me. But so when you're rigging up a Z-Man, it's a pain in the butt on a screw lock. And people say you can heat up a screw lock with like a lighter and it's supposed to like eat through it. I've never tried all that. I'm not going to go to that sort of work.
Yeah.
But keepers that just have like the little wire, like it's like a little wire claw under it. That's what's meant for like kind of Z-Man totes that. The big thing I see people doing, and I think this was Brian Latimer, he's one of the Z-Man pros, gave this tip a long time ago, and it's like night and day difference. So people put a Z-Man on, they'll push it up, and then it backs off the back of the jig head, right? Like a Ned rig or something.
Yep.
They keep pushing it, and they're scrunching it as hard as they can. The biggest thing with a Z-Man is to grab the plastic under it. Yeah, so you've got it horizontal, you've got the TRD like this. Grab it under it like it's the throat of it, and pull it down and toward.
Yeah.
And then as it gets closer, let it go. So all it's doing is making that hole in the plastic open up as you pull it over the deal and then let it go. And it kind of pops back. So instead of scrunching and pushing, try the pinch and pull method. It works 1,000 times better. Yeah.
So you're saying you bring it on. So if I bring it on and I'm putting it on that hook, so basically as I'm putting it on, I'm pinching under here to get
it all the way up to the top.
Okay.
Yep, like you normally would. Grab it, pinch it, and then put it on there.
I don't have a Ned handy, but
I'd have to,
so right here.
Yep.
So you're gonna go on. You're gonna bring that down, pinch that down, and then boop. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and it'll look like a big throat. You're making like a big throat in it, like the jug.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a ton of sense, actually.
Yep. That's number one. And then number two would be going to, I save Game Changer and don't say that a whole lot, but as a bank angler or from the boat, doesn't really matter. Going to an EWG style Ned rig hook.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Rigging is 1,000 times easier. And what you can even do because Elastec is so good. A lot of guys do it with their swim baits and stuff is do a little dab of super glue.
Yep.
I'm not huge into it with my swim baits and stuff, but trying it on an Elastec bait like that is awesome because even if the back gets all jacked up, the head stays there and it's not like it's going to rip or anything, and back.
Right.
Not after a couple fish anyway, maybe after 20 or whatever. But those are two things that will save you a ton of headaches for Z-Man Elastec stuff.
I have heard a lot of people, especially with the swim baits, talking about using super glue, and I've considered it because this year I've started throwing a lot of finesse swim baits.
Carry some of this. Speaking of Randizzle, he wishes he was sponsored by them. He keeps a thing of Mendit on his belt loop, as some would their phone.
Oh, really?
He's married to that stuff, I think. But yeah, using some of that on the head of it instead. It's a little tackier.
Yep.
It's not as like crusty. You'll put super glue on there to get real hard and like kind of brittle.
Right.
This stuff, like you can cut a plastic lure, like a plastisol lure in half, put it right back together with this. So like you were talking about, the top toads or a frog, like a hollow body frog.
Yeah.
Around here we have a ton of pike gets ripped apart.
Oh,
you
for
can
sure.
put a couple layers of that over it and it's good to go again. So
no shit.
That's another.
I've heard a lot of people using Mendit for stuff, like especially like those big like soft plastic swim baits.
Yes.
You spend big money on some of those suckers, and you're like, oh wow, I've caught 2 or 3 fish. Yeah, you can use that Mendit to kind of get more life out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect for that kind of stuff.
That's freaking cool, man. That's good to know. What a couple of great tips, Debo.
Yeah.
See, hey, off the cuff, man. I told you we'd find something.
I love that. Wow, that is absolutely fantastic. And I second that. I think there are a lot of people who think, or they're just like, oh, the hookup ratio with an EWG Ned isn't as good as an open hook. And, that's, I guess I can kind of see that point. Like there might be a little bit more of a challenge, but I almost now fish the EWG Neds exclusively, especially now that I can find them in tungsten, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Really once Reaction Tackle started selling those, I was like, oh, let's go. So I just have a library of them ready to go almost at any time. So using those, that's huge. And for baits like, like that Hellamite has a little dimple right at the head, and it snugs right up against, like, that's good. Yeah, and I think, people talk about rigging all the time, and I had a feeling once you started talking about putting it on the hook, you see the pros that are like, if they have Z-Man on their jersey, you see them all the time grabbing that and just pulling it instead of like pushing, fattening it up or whatever Bass Geek says, he's like, when you just crank them on the hook. Elastec does last fucking forever too. It's just no other way about it.
It's hard to hate on that.
What do we got here? I just want to catch up with some of these before we jump into our FTG, because the FTG is gonna take a turn. Let's see. We got Ryan chimes in. He says another local company I use for Neds just spent $200 on weedless Ned heads from Bog Hog. They've got 14 different weedless head Ned weights. Yeah, caught so many more fish with it being weedless. Absolutely, and you're not losing the jigs. That's the thing. Yeah. It's one thing to be catching them on there, but it's a whole other thing when you're just like, oh yeah, I rigged up a Ned. You get your second or third cast, and you're like, oh shit, I hung up on the bottom, and it's not coming back.
The gents over at Bog Hog, I'm personal friends with them, and I just actually reached out to them the other day. I was like, I need some higher weighted Neds, weedless Neds for the Connecticut River. The current's cranking, and I'll probably have them here in the next couple days. So
nice.
Yeah, luckily they're right up the fucking street. I just go to their house.
That is nice. That is very
when
nice.
I need them, So great. Yeah, those guys. They do a bismuth mix. It's where they're all lead free. So
Oh, okay.
They do all bismuth and I think a little bit of tin.
Yeah, tin is the other one I've heard people do.
Yep. And I think like Eagle Claw actually makes some tin ones. I've seen.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
And I'm like, I wonder why. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Now for Ned sizes, what do you guys typically have on hand?
For weight? Like
for
you
weights.
mean like so I'm a heavy Ned guy.
Yeah.
I love heavier Neds.
Ounce and a half.
Yeah, right. No, usually like three
Punch
ounce.
Ned. Yeah.
No, I usually my go-to is the lowest I'll usually go is a 16th. And I usually I'll go right up into, a quarter to a half sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I usually go up to a quarter. I just ordered half and 5/8 from Bog Hog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Just because when I was Ned,
current's a different animal,
Yeah, that's what I think of the biggest one I had on me was a quarter, and I throw it, and it's just like see you later.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that those 5/8 will kind of pin it to the bottom a little better.
There you go.
So
there you go.
And that was a tip from Bogley, by the way. I don't want him to. I know he's in.
Oh
here.
yeah,
he's like, dude, you got to get the 5/8. He's like, I was like, I can't get him to stick to the. He's like, you got to get the 5/8. So Bogley put me onto that.
What about you, Debo?
3, because I make my own, I've got my own do-it molds. 3/32 is my like starting place. That or an 1/8 are for sure my two like go-to sizes. But just like you guys were saying, fishing the Mississippi last year, I realized how much bank ready I am and not river ready. Because I was even throwing, I think I don't remember what it was. 1/8 probably is all I had on me, and it would just, I couldn't get it to stay. And then Dad and I went back a couple weeks later, and I made some 1/4 ounce, and it's like night and day difference.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even crazy river current. That's where we were at in the Mississippi. It wasn't bad, but jumping from that 1/8 to a 1/4 was completely night and day. Yeah.
Yep.
I find I usually like to try to start with an 1/8, like depending on the plastic, depending on what it is that I'm throwing. If it's a TRD, it doesn't matter. But if it's got appendages, and it was only like this year that I really started paying attention to it. There's some plastic or some baits that I'll throw on the back of a Ned where on a 16th, they will just sit still. Like you'll lose the action. But if you have, you bump up a size, like I generally what I do is I carry a 1/4, an 1/8, and a 16th. And anything like really lighter than a 16th, lots of times I'll just throw like a weightless plastic in that situation. And I might add like a Nico weight if I got to get it, to pop down a little bit, like a really light Nico weight, something like that. Just nail that sucker in there. But I will, I'll start, but I'll start with an 1/8 to try to get as light as I can for it to be a finesse tactic. But there are some instances where that 1/4 ounce is just, you need it. Either you need it to get to the bottom faster, like if you're trying to get them to react to it, or you need it, especially in like crazy deep water too. Like if you're in like 40-foot water.
Yeah.
Just wasting time otherwise.
Yeah, that's a very like that can be like feast and famine because if they're being finicky, you kind of want it to go, and especially if they're like sitting stacked or in the column, you kind of want to go a little slow by them.
Yeah.
But then you don't have the fucking patience, so then you put on a heavier one, and it's just blowing right by their face. So
like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, exactly. So you gotta be cognizant of that. Because I am the most impatient fisherman on the planet, but so I have to really like reel myself back for situations like that sometimes.
We got the butcher chiming in. He says he uses 3/32, 1/8, 1/16, and then 5/8 for the river. It's crazy, man. Like it is just bananas. Like 5/8 Ned head, but
dude,
again, like in current, like it's a whole other beast.
Yeah,
Yep.
It really like we talked, Bobby. It's like I was not expecting. When I went up there last week, I was not expecting the river to be cranking like that.
And it was churning.
I set my spot lock a couple times, and that trolling motor, it was working. To keep me there. It felt like it was at like out of 10. It felt like it was sitting at like 6 or 7 speed to keep me locked in there.
That is freaking nuts.
Yeah, it was wild up there. But it's all the rain we've had, man. All that shit's still come down from Vermont and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it is crazy. Like we have had a lot of fucking rain, and the rivers. Like earlier in the summer, it was even more insane, But it's still it really hasn't a lot hasn't changed.
I know, Debo, you said you guys are kind of like in a drought where you are. Like we were getting so much rain that they were actually shutting down boat ramps. And like there was a week and a half where I couldn't even really fish just because everything was shut down because the water was so high.
Yep.
Wow.
People's docks. The Connecticut River actually had docks floating down the river that broke loose with boats attached. Yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, it was wild.
We've had it here. Yeah, I mean, we're right next to a few rivers. Of course, with the Mississippi running through close too. We've had that, but man, it hasn't been for a few years. So
that's bananas. All right. We got to do it.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
All right, guys. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to dive right into the deep end with this FTG. And we're gonna hear from Binya. Binya called with a little FTG of his own, and we'll throw that in there. And actually, that's gonna lighten the mood a little bit. So my FTG has to come from, and actually digging deep into the comments on Instagram. I had posted a video, or reposted, I should say, a video from, and I'm actually gonna look for this right now while I'm thinking of it. There we go. I reposted this video from Striped Bass Hunt, the account on Instagram. Striped Bass Hunt, they posted this initially, and their original caption says, I debated whether or not I would post this, but it was something that bothered me so much I decided that I would. This day, there was a massive adult bunker blitz. There were hundreds of yards of big bass offshore. One small pod broke off and came on shore. I ran 150 plus yards across the rocks to catch up with it, and I got on one, got one cast into it. A boat immediately saw that I was hooked into a fish and ran from 1,000 yards away within 15 in front of me. What should have been an epic morning turned into more of a frustration when stuff like that or stuff like that doesn't happen often. So it sucks when a boat runs over a school of blitzing bass and then shuts the bite off. Please, if you're in a boat and you see someone fishing from shore, try to give them some space. That's all he said. And in the video, he captured it. It's all third person. You can see him looking at this boat, and he's just yelling at me. He's like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? If this is how you fish? And the guy in the boat is like, hey, don't worry about us. Worry about yourself. And then he's as he's trying to take another cast, he's like, you're just bad at fishing. You're idiots like all of them, all this other stuff. He's like, look at all of the fucking fish that are out here. Why are you on shore right here? I just don't understand it. So like I do a lot of the time on Instagram, if I find a post that kind of resonates with me a little bit and I can add a little to it, I will take it and add my 2 cents in the caption to it. And I said, listen to the bullshit from the guy on the boat. This is the kind of shit that drives me crazy. Now, a lot of people commented. In fact, Debo chimed in on this as well. And, especially as somebody who fishes from the bank quite often, I think Debo probably understands this a lot. I mean, we had, folks jump in here. Some of them were a little bit more, I would say threatening, where they're like, oh yeah, that's why I keep a giant 1 ounce weight attached to one of my giant rods at all times. That way I can chip the clear coat off their paint or something like that. Or need to start carrying Roman candles. I believe Cupcake Coley even used the term, turd taco about this one guy. So I'm like, okay, this is understandable. And really what this is just a total lack of etiquette. Like a complete lack of etiquette. And what should have been a pretty fantastic, experience catching some fish, unfortunately gets kind of shit on by this one guy. Well, like I said, most people had chimed in with no issues, really kind of seeing it for what it was, the lack of etiquette and everything else. We had one guy jump on and leave a comment, and he actually asked me to make sure that I @ him, and I don't think I'm going to. I think instead I'm going to mess up the numbers of his account. But he goes by the username T-Dog, and dog is spelled D-A-W-G.
So he's awesome.
That's a lot.
That alone does say a lot. And then there's a handful of numbers that follow. And he commented, and he goes, and this is just magical. He says, these people are crazy like you. Who gives a crap? The guy in the boat crept on your spot. Anywhere on the water is fair game for anyone. You don't want to be limited to the bank? Go buy a boat and stop being a crybaby. Now, first and foremost, that comment, screams just giant red flags that this guy clearly has, number one, a massive level of entitlement going on and nonstop. I feel like nobody's ever fucking told him that he can't do something. And then secondly, he's entirely missing any kind of etiquette whatsoever. So, there were a couple of people who had chimed in and kind of made my argument for me. And initially I was going to draft something and light this twat waffle up as much as humanly possible. And I said, no, you know what? I'm just going to make it an FTG. So I grabbed my story so I could get that instant gratification. I took a screenshot of the comment and I posted it on my story with the caption that I put,
"What a cunt."
That was it. And the feedback was amazing. Because people saw it, they're just like, holy fuck, really? And they would go and check out the post and everything else. Well, awesome. That's all well and good. Somebody chimes in and replies to his post. I did leave a reply to. I just said, see you next Tuesday. Because the podcast drops on Tuesday and we'll be talking about this. So somebody chimes in and comments basically like, that's just a total lack of etiquette. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Blah, 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 blah. I go ahead and agree. And I shouldn't have done it, but I tagged him in the post. I mentioned him. So he immediately saw it and then said something, and I can't dig up the post right now, but something to the effect of like, oh yeah, don't forget to @ me on your stupid fucking podcast, you crybaby, or something like that. So then I did a little bit of digging. Man, if you're gonna go ahead and troll accounts like this,
it's probably not a great idea to post a picture of your motorcycle license on your Instagram.
In fact, I almost commented,
"Thanks for the engagement. It was very pleasant."
I might have. I don't even remember if I commented that or not. Because all it's doing is spiking the engagement on the post. Fantastic. But like number one, this guy, lack of etiquette goes without saying. Like, if he thinks that anything goes on the water, this is the kind of idiot that would wash his car at the fucking ramp. We talk about these people every single week. This is the kind of idiot that's going to show up at a ramp and like assemble a fucking kayak that they just bought at the ramp instead of while they're parked off to the side. Because fuck anybody else who wants to use the same public ramp that you're using. You know what I mean? Anybody who is a true angler, and I do want to mention, by the way, he does have a couple of pictures of boats on his Instagram profile. A couple of people had noted this asshole doesn't even fish. I'm like, I don't know about that, because he does have a bayliner on his fucking Instagram. But not only that, he has a very small like aluminum boat that, maybe he does do. Maybe he does fish once in a while. I have no idea. But he obviously doesn't know much about the fishing community and the unwritten fucking rules of how this shit works. Like, you don't make a mess of the environment. You don't leave fucking no trace, and you follow the fucking the laws of the land. And I believe, and I know this is the case in Massachusetts, but outdoorsmen have rights. Somebody can't interfere with your ability to fish, and I would gather to say that if you were fishing a spot and somebody creeps in your spot, you could have a fucking problem when you go to put your boat back on the trailer. There might be a fucking game warden like, hey, what the fuck's going on? You know what I mean? Especially if there's a goddamn camera on you that can prove the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like in the case with this one guy, again, like I don't know where he was fishing. I don't know if this was in New England, if it was in Massachusetts or where it was. But I'm just saying in general, like, no, it's not. It doesn't work that way, And if you think it works that way, you're just an asshole. And it's okay to be an asshole. Just know
that you're an asshole.
Yeah.
That's the tough part with those is like, yeah, he's not breaking any law. Like maybe you said there, maybe I don't know how that works, but
yeah, I'm not like, again, that's a broad generalization on my part. Like I'm not saying anything.
The law would probably say, well, you can still move from your bank fishing spot to somewhere else. So it's like, he's not necessarily, and that's the tough part with these guys is, yeah, you're not breaking a law. You're right. Nobody owns the water. You have just as much right to be there. Just the same way you'd flip it around on a dock owner. It's like, you know, when they yell at you, it's like, hey, I can fish this. There's no, but at the same time, it's like, don't be a prick. Like I've literally had people, it's in a video where Dizzle and I are fishing. I'm casting.
Yep.
And I turn around to grab one of my other things. They pull up on their John boat with their backs to us right in front of us. at half a cast length. I mean, I could cast way over them. I just kept casting where I was at, and I ended up hooking one of their lines. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I'm like, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah,
but
maybe if you weren't there.
Like,
yeah,
you're an absolute prick. And it's not like we were somewhere hidden where, like, I get that. You know, I've got a boat too. Like sometimes you'll be fishing around a corner. It's like, oh my god, I literally didn't see you guys there.
Yeah,
I'll bust out, you know, and give them their. You know, if you're outside of a cast length from a bank angler, I don't care if you're even creeping on that edge. Cool. You're outside of my cast length, like as long as you're not fishing it, like as long as you're not casting to where I am.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you're casting the other way, I mean, yeah, maybe you could have taken a little bit wider. You know, there's kind of gray hairs, you know, that you're splitting there. But like, yeah, when you're getting right into literally where they're casting and casting that same spot, like, yeah, you know, and there's not a law against it, but yeah, you're like you said, you're an asshole. You're a complete prick. So
there was one instance recently where I had a situation. I was fishing this one small lake in my hometown, and I caught a pretty decent fish on one of those little finesse jigs. So I was playing this fish out, you know, and got this fish to the boat, you know, measured him, did everything, snapped a pic, released the fish. And immediately afterwards, I saw a boat who had, I was behind them and we were fishing the same bake, but I was leaving them plenty of space and they took off. So I moved into the docks where they were. And it was shortly after this string of docks where I hooked into this one big fish. Guess who came right back? And I knew it. It's not like I wasn't expecting it. I'm like, no. These idiots, they're not anglers. These are just Yahoo jabronis that have come out deciding like, hey, we're going to fish because, you know, we were in Walmart and we had like, you know, we wanted to blow $100 on a bunch of stuff. We don't know what we're doing. You know, oh, I got a boat, you know, that kind of thing. And they rolled right up into that
is
spot.
not an excuse.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like you gotta do a little bit more than that. This is fucking great. Chrissy Fishing chimes in. And she says, oh my God, please send him a bag of dicks. And then she says, it's a bag of male-shaped gummies that says E to D on them. It sounds like he needs one. Chrissy, I'm 2 steps ahead of you. I am 2 steps ahead of you. But you're 100% right. This is somebody who needs this. You know what I mean? Like, just somebody who freaking needs this. I just feel like, in terms of etiquette, I remember when a good example is this. When I was first like learning about kayak fishing and I was going out with Sean, one of the very first things that he was like, there's certain etiquette that you got to know. Like you rig when your boat is off of the ramp. You know what I mean? You get your stuff ready and then you bring your boat over there so that you can launch. The idea being that you're not blocking anybody's use of the public resources that are there, which makes sense, of course. You want to leave a certain amount of space between you and, you know, whomever anglers that you're with. I am typically not always so great at that. Sometimes I don't even pay attention. And then I'm like, oh shit, sorry, dude, didn't mean to cast right behind you. But again, the communication is the big part, you know, but it's what happened in this video. Somebody seeing you catch a fish and then just rolling up on you. That is just the worst. And it's shitty because it's like, yeah, a lot of those comments, like I said, people are just like, yeah, so throw a flipping rig and just like cast right into them, chip that clear coat. Well, I mean, that's a great idea, you know, and like, oh, hey, accidents happen, but it's still destruction of property. Like, I don't want to fuck with that either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now you're the villain.
Yeah,
you're the
exactly.
true villain. That guy wasn't even doing anything against the law, technically. Right. Now you've taken
exactly.
a step up.
He was being an a-hole. Now
you are.
So that's like, and I joke all the time about like, you know, oh yeah, what's this bait for? Oh, it's for smacking jet skiers off the temple. Like, no, I mean, I joke about that shit. I'm not that guy. That's not what I'm going to do. But the reality of it is, it's like, I would rather let somebody know like, hey, yeah, you're entitled to be an asshole and you can. But everybody that's out there is going to be thinking the same fucking thing. And I mean, maybe you don't care, and that's okay. You're entitled for that. But just keep in mind, like, you start going out to these same places, people are going to remember your boat. Yeah. And they're going to know that you're a piece of shit. And
there's some people that don't care if you're now the villain.
Exactly. They don't.
Give zero shits.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly it. So I'm off. That's my TED Talk. Joe, do you have anything you want to chime in here?
Yeah, it's...
Joe's like, yeah, that was me and my boat. I'm not really that big of an asshole.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry.
No, like being a guy who's always on a boat. I I stay clear away from anyone that's on the shore because, you know, I used to bank fish. I still do on occasion.
Yeah.
And it's fucking frustrating to like, it's just a dick move, you know. If the only thing I've done is like, you know, if I'm in a tournament or something and there's someone on the bank near somewhere where I want to flip or cast, I'll ask them. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I just throw a couple up towards you?
It's better to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's
or if they've got lines out, they're fishing a fishing jetty and they've got lines out to the left side. If you're rolling up the right side, just say, hey, do you care if I throw at this?
Yeah.
Like obviously they're not fishing it. You know, if they're just sitting in there in a lawn chair with lines out, like.
Yeah. I mean, Bobby, you and I ran into this on the Connecticut River during the
carp tournament
thing.
Yeah.
Yep. There's how many times do we like, oh shit, we got to veer out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're like, the spot looked juicy as hell, but there's like 6 lines coming off of this one point and they're all carp fishing. And you know, the thing, you touch their line, there's a strike alarm that's going to go off. They're going to know.
Yeah.
You know, it's
you know, and we were fishing for money. They were fishing for money. We were respectful. Yeah. That's it. Just be a good human. Be respectful of other people doing the same activity that you are. Don't be a dick.
You know, and actually, Joe, you pointed something out. You're like, these guys on the bank. It's one thing if you're out fishing a local pond or lake, like bank access is an afterthought where we are. You know what I mean? Like your ability to fish a body of water without having a vessel on there is limited. In fact, I was just fishing a spot where there are no boats allowed in there. So you can only fish on the bank and your access was super minimal. You only had a handful of spots that you were able to fish. So it's like, given that's one thing. Now in this video, it looked like he was out on a rock jetty and there was plenty of area. This boat could have gone anywhere. A boat could go anywhere and get wherever they want to be.
I think he even says in the video, like, he's like, look, they're actually blowing up over there. You could literally go over there. There's fish blowing up.
It's
like,
and it's
about yourself or something. You're missing the point, dude.
The audacity of these guys that are like, oh no, this is, I saw you catch a fish, I'm gonna throw in there. Oh, you don't like it? And it's like, I get it. Like, just because you're in a boat, you know, you automatically think you're entitled to these spots, right? Like, these guys that are on the bank might not have, and depending on the body of water, they might not even have that opportunity. Why would you just go fish where they are? And let's say there's 5 spots where you can bank fish on a lake, and you know they're full. And now all of a sudden, because this guy is catching them off this laydown that's right there, it's one of the few spots he's able to fish. Now you're like, nope, sorry, you're done here. I'm going to fish over here. Yep. You know. Yep. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What it comes down to is don't be an asshole. Like we're all, you know, sportsmen. We're all anglers. We all do this for, you know, essentially the same reasons. Like, we're not competing. Like, just fucking wait till, if you really need to hit that spot, wait till he's gone. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, he fucking beat you there. Don't be sour.
You know what? If you really, really want to do something with it, mark a fucking waypoint.
Yeah.
And go back to it. You know,
if you really want to hit that fucking spot that guy's fishing from shore, maybe you should have fished it from shore.
Maybe
it's not fucking important for you. So
that's a good point too. Fuck these guys.
Fuck these guys.
Oh, but there is one more that we have. The one and only Mike Hansen, Binny Outdoors, shot me a voicemail, and he said I might appreciate this as a DJ. So I wanna hear what he has to say. He also left the voicemail and then texted me immediately saying, I don't know if you're gonna be able to use this. It's kind of a mess. He was in the throes of it. I think you might even be able to hear the background shit. Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Binya. And Joe, I did not forget you this time, so I'll mention you specifically. I have an FTG for you if you guys have some space for it. It's not a fishing one per se, but I'm on a body of water, and I'm not sure if you guys can hear it in the background, but I have DJ iPod Shuffle in the background playing the same 4 songs all day long on speakers that clearly are not designed to handle it, and then the occasional drunken, literally they are doing like karaoke and screaming obscenities into the air constantly throughout the day. I'm just sitting here trying to fish, and listening, I've heard more Morgan Wallen and more of these songs than I'd ever wanted to hear in my life. So I thought I'd send this to you guys.
Yeah. It's that time of year, man. You're gonna get those people. Yeah, you're gonna get those people
out
that
there.
are fucking
Binia's out there.
Last night we let the liquor talk.
That's what they're doing. They're
That's
letting
what
the
they're
liquor
doing.
talk for sure. Yeah. Oh man, it like being a boat guy in like especially. I mean even us, Bobby. We like. I don't, I'm sure you heard Debo, but Bobby and I did a tournament on Memorial Day weekend on a very busy body of water that we will never do again on that weekend. But it's just like especially in the summer when I'm flipping docks and stuff. It's actually like fun to go by the different fucking parties going on.
Oh yeah,
and it's like the different shit and like. And then you get everyone's trying to talk to you, and it's a riot. It can be fun, it can be annoying, but I get you, Binya, especially those drunk assholes that play those same 4 fucking overplayed songs already. So,
and they don't realize how sound carries.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. Like I sometimes will, and I this is why I feel so bad sometimes. You get on super early. Launch the boats, and you get into a good fish, and it's like 6:30 in the morning, and it's just like yes, and then you hear that echo, and you're like, fuck. Yep, exactly. Like that's got to be like if you're renting a lake house, for the weekend or something, that's your alarm clock. That's pretty much it. It's never intentional, but it's a giant. You know what I mean?
Have you guys
How did you hear that? These loons sound messed up around here.
Have you guys ever had it where you're like being in like a middle, like you're towards like a middle of a lake or whatever, and it's just like a busy weekend, or like just the shoreline's a busy weekend. There's so much like music coming from everywhere. It's just like a sensory overload because it's all different fucking music hitting you, and you're like, oh my god. Yep.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. It does happen.
Dogs
quite
bark.
a bit.
Like we have a bunch of like campground lakes here where it's like a big lake, and then there's like the big campground side. It's like guaranteed. As soon as I get down there, I'm going to hear at least 3 barking dogs and 2 moms yelling at their kids not doing the shit they're supposed to be doing. It's like,
I think my favorite.
Relax.
I think my favorite recent story is where Sean was fishing. I'm fairly certain this was Sean with the bees. And like there was a house where they're having a little party, and they're like, I mean, this is like a little bit upscale, he thought initially from the attire from some of the party goers. And there was this group of like 2 or 3 dudes that ran down to the water, and then like within minutes they ran away, and they're just like,
God, bees everywhere, so many bees.
And they go running back, and then he's like, what the fuck? And the first dude that ran away yells back, and he's like,
hey Kyle, grab my beer and don't forget my fireworks.
And that was the answer everybody needed.
Oh my gosh.
Fucking bees. It's good stuff, guys. It is good stuff. So yeah, this has been an exciting show. Our next segment is going to be super short, but there's a conversation I am itching to have with Debo regarding his first outing on a fishing kayak.
Oh God.
This should be really good. Guys, we'll be back with more Jigs and Bigs right after this. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. We're excited to offer Jigs and Bigs listeners a 15% off savings on your first installment of a month-to-month subscription to Dark Horse Tackle. Dark Horse Tackle provides a monthly supply of small batch, craft, and custom lures, allowing anglers to try some otherwise tough-to-discover baits. This is stuff you're not going to find just anywhere, and Dark Horse Tackle Tackle does the hard part for you. They track down these small companies and then test the baits to determine if they're good enough for the DHT community. Subscribe now at darkhorsetackle.com and use the promo code JIGSandBigs15 for your 15% off savings now. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters. Located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut, Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories by Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and much, much more. Financing options are available to upgrade your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Toredge. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, a lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% off with the code JIGSandBigs10 at checkout. Visit Toredge.com to check out their selection and lens options. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Well, boys and gals that are tuned in to Jigs and Bigs, that's another fantastic episode. We're putting the wraps on right now. A little bow tie, if you will. Bow ties are in. But there is one conversation I want to have. I watch Debo's channel pretty routinely, and Debo had put a video out where then I was so excited to see this video, and it was his first time fishing in a kayak, and your experience was exactly what my experience was when I initially kind of got introduced to fishing in a kayak. Like, I hated it, and now I can't even imagine. Now it is my favorite method of fishing. It really is, and a lot of it was like the real kayak. So Debo, if you could just kind of recount your experience and like where you were, and then I'll chime in.
Yeah, I think I was kind of jaded because I essentially have an aluminum kayak, right?
Yeah,
I have an old, it's 1982 or 3 John boat. It's 11 foot. I mean, there's people out there with kayaks that are bigger than my John boat. Literally.
Mine is, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I was kind of jaded in having that because it's really like one in a lot of ways. But
yes.
I don't love or hate the kayak. I saw pros and cons both ways. Number one, like getting into it, stability, I think that would come. I'm not the most stable guy.
Yeah.
And I like fishing standing up. And I did not feel safe enough to do that in a kayak. And I'm sure it would come like with time, but that was the first thing, because I hate fishing sitting down. I absolutely despise it. So that was a big one for me. And I know they have like different fishing kayaks that are like specifically meant for that. And even the guy that owns it, Steven's like, dude, I felt the same way the first few trips. He's like, once you get up, like it feels really tippy, but once you get to a certain point, it kind of like sticks and like you can't really push it any farther. But like this part is, and I'm like, I get it, but I've almost fallen out of my jumbo like 3 times. So. Yeah. And I don't drink when I fish. Like that's completely sober, Debo. Like, and that's scary. So That was the first thing. Some of the other stuff is control. Bobby and I were talking about before how he has a pedal kayak, and I could for sure see that being a huge advantage, because like trying to when I would get to spots, I didn't realize how much kayaks glide. And like I'd be paddling, okay, I'm almost there. I put it on my lap or whatever, grabbing my rig, and then I get to it and I'm like, I'm already drifted way up onto the spot. Whereas like my John boat, I've got a little trolling motor on it. I stop it and it's like really not going anywhere. It's like a floating cinder block.
Yeah.
Unless there's wind and stuff, of course, then it's so light I get beaten up and blown around. But as far as just gliding, I didn't expect that. So I have a lot of respect for the people who do that professionally, being able to position, fish, and maneuver all of that. There's a whole lot more to do, because like in my John boat, I've rigged up a system where I can pull. I've got a rope that goes up to the front to an anchor. So I'll get to a spot and grab the rope. It falls down. I can fish when I'm ready. I just pull the rope back in. So even though I've only got one anchor up in front, my boat will blow around and go back and forth left and right, but I can just turn as I'm fishing. I can just stand up and turn. Whereas like in a, sitting down in a kayak, you can't do that. Like, you get to spots where you can't even, really reach it. And then you've got the whole difference of setting hooks. Like I initially felt that on my first frog set. I'm like, I felt like a little 6-year-old Debo again, trying to set the hook, setting down with the boat moving. Cause you really can like just reeling in a lure. I was like guiding my boat just by reeling the lure. Like you can pull yourself just by the drag of the lure and stuff. So yeah, definitely a different experience. But yeah, I mean, for somebody getting off the bank, like if you didn't have a John boat or something, I absolutely get it. And most people are probably more nimble than I am and can stand and fish, and do that stuff. But yeah, I get it. I see both ways. So I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was an interesting experience.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, like, I can remember going out the first time with Sean and being like, I think I told him actually my second time, I'll go, I don't think this is for me, dude. I like fishing more than I like paddling. Like this, I don't think this is for me. And there was this one specific day we were dealing with quite a bit of wind, and I was like, son of a, but you got to be kidding me. And it was really, I owe it to Sean to be, and at the same time, it's been a full-on addiction. So thanks, Sean. But I owe it to him for pushing me to keep at it, because then eventually you start to realize like a little bit more technique. And it's, like I had to go, I did some looking onto like different YouTube channels. Like I looked on Chad Hoover's channel about like paddling and technique and stuff like that. And I was like, so what is it that I'm doing here? When let's say I've got great conditions and the wind isn't crazy and it's not blowing me everywhere. What's the best way to position myself? What should I be doing? And I realized I'm like, okay, this is all right. And I thought I wanted to have this conversation, or the idea popped into my head, not just after seeing your video, Debo, but I recently I forget, it was a Facebook group, fishing Facebook group, and somebody in there had posted a picture. I'm not sure where they were, but they were in some like retail store, and it was a kayak that was like on sale for like $4.99 or something like that. And the question was, should I do it? And I got to be honest with you, like it was a wreck. It was a wreck kayak that was like fitted to be a fishing kayak. Now, what you were in, I think you were in a bona fide SS 127, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
It's a great boat. It's like that boat is a great boat if you're one of those anglers where a paddle kayak is the direction that you want to go in. I'm gonna say that often here and there. If that's a direction that you want to go in, that's a great second kayak. You know what I mean? Where you're like, oh, I got to drag this into this spot. Like I'm not going to lug, I'm not going to lug a Hobie Pro Angler through the woods, or something like that. Or like my Native Titan or Sean's Gnar. Like those boats they're enormous. And it's like, they're not necessarily the right boat for it. But that SS 127.
I was surprised how light it was. Because I helped him load it. I'm like, I could do this by myself. Like these things are nothing. I didn't realize they were that light.
And the thing is, the stability definitely is like the width of the kayak. The wider it is, the more stable it is. And the seat height is adjustable. So like, I can stand in my kayak confidently. But my kayak is 41 inches wide inside width. Outside width, it's even wider. It really is. It's almost 14 feet long.
That's literally the size of my John boat. I think the width is I think 39 inches.
Yeah.
In like to the top.
I mean, I'm a 300-pound guy. So like if I'm going to get that stability, I need a big boat that's going to be able to perform.
Sure.
With, you know,
that's what I would rather have for sure. I would rather have the loss of agility and maneuverability and all that stuff and be completely safe. Like,
and like if you've got the ability to move it, like, you know, you got a trailer a boat like that. Even throwing it in the bed of a pickup truck is going to be a pain in the balls.
Right.
It can be done. It's just going to be a pain in the balls. Trailering it definitely helps. If you have access to enough ramps, you don't even notice it. But there are bodies of water that I really don't take that boat to too often, simply because the parking isn't there for a trailer or the ramp is just a pain in the ass. And, you know, if I really want to fish there, I can go, but I know I got to deal with some shit to get it done. But I will say this. I think overall, I think that really, and the game changer for me was when I tried a bunch of different fishing kayaks. And I had been in my 12-foot Ascend kayak, which, you know, I mean, at the time I thought was stable as fuck. You know, I had tried out a handful of different ones and I was like, okay, cool. I think this is the one that we're going to go with. I will say this much, that if you're getting a kayak primarily to fish, don't even look at a paddle kayak. And here's why. Because the majority of the time, right, you'll be able to use your pedals to move back and forward. If you have a Hobie, there's another step in there. But, you know, generally speaking, you'll be able to move yourself, move your craft, and control a little bit what's going on. You've got wind fighting you, pedal lightly. You'll stay right where you are if you're facing it. Or, you know, you make the wind work for you. In those instances that you maybe are in a body of water where pedals are not really productive, maybe it's just crazy amounts of grass, take the pedal drive out and paddle that son of a bitch. You know, like, it gives you more versatility. So I always try to tell people, if they're looking at a kayak, look at it from the perspective of, you know, I want to use something maybe that doesn't have a motor. I don't have to worry about charging a battery for it or burning fuel, you know, anything like that. I want the independence of it and the ability to go into a lot of places that, like, with a traditional boat, maybe I can't get into as easy. Like with a John boat like yours, Debo, you can get anywhere with that thing. Let's be honest. For the most part,
it's pretty good.
Yeah. Like, you're really
it's heavy though. Like, to try to drag it anywhere, like it's heavy as hell. It's a big old, so I can't go too far. But there are a couple places where I just drop it off the trailer and drag it to the edge, and it's not bad.
And I will say this much. I think now I would love to see you try the new Native Titan that has a 360-degree swivel seat.
Ooh, yes. That would be interesting.
So, like, even if you're like, you can spin this sucker all the way around and do whatever you got to do. I initially thought, like, I was the same way because I was bank fishing all the time. I was on my feet the entire time. I was like, yeah, I got to be able to stand in this kayak. I got to be able to stand in this kayak. I got in my Ascend and I started fishing, and I'm like, I don't really have to stand here. The trick is to elevate that seat up as much as you can, and that's why I wanted the width.
That's true.
That's why I wanted the biggest boat I could get, was because now I've got my seat in the highest position, and my legs are like a right angle. It is, it's a great, it makes it easier for me to stand up. Again, fat shit. So I got to move things.
That is true. Yeah. That would be different.
Yeah. I would love to, you know what we should do next summer? I'll get my hands on another pedal kayak. I'll come out to you and we'll fish your area.
Let me know when.
I think it'll be freaking awesome. That'd be the shit.
Got a place to stay. I got a basement. You'll have to organize stuff and sleep with Stubby Dog, but
maybe we could do a multi-collab and we travel out to fish with ND Yak Angler.
Oof.
That's I
don't even know where he's at.
I think he's
North Dakota, right?
North Dakota and Idaho. I think he fishes
where I don't
primarily.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to fish with that dude because he is the Bob Ross of kayak fishing.
He really is.
Yeah, I've just recently started watching his stuff. People were talking about him, and I didn't know him, but I knew him from the Pike video.
Yes,
where he's like a duck, and I
with
think
the duck.
He just blew up on that one. But I didn't know that was him. There's been people, through the live streams and stuff. But,
yep. And that's the thing. I think like having I look at it like this: having a John boat and having a kayak, do totally different ball games. Because with the John boat, you can bring another person.
Yeah.
I don't.
Although, wait, yeah,
mine,
yours
like,
is an 11-footer, right?
Yeah, it's only 11-footer. Like it's already tippy. Like I wouldn't feel safe. And people have said build a platform on it. Quit being a wussy. I'm like, man, I would not feel safe on the front of that with a platform. Like
I fished with a guy who had a boat like that, Tiny Boat Nation, and I'm all respect to those guys. I love that shit, that tiny boat stuff. I think that is so fucking custom and cool. But like from my standpoint, like I remember like even standing on the deck, I'm like, I was in Delirious's old boat. He has one of these boats. I think it was like a 12 or a 14-foot flat bottom boat, and he built a deck on the front and the rear, and then he had like the center area where that was the floor, and I would fish from down there because I'm like, dude, I am gonna take one wrong step and I'm gonna fall right in.
Yeah, even a 14, like the difference between a 14-foot, even like a 14-foot wide, mine is night and day difference. It's like that's a bass boat compared to mine.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I've considered getting into that, and I'm like, but it's a different animal. And primarily that's the reason why I would really consider getting a boat, is because then I can bring somebody else with me, and just go for it. Yep. With this kayak, like I could totally I did make it myself. Like it's so funny. There were features I was looking for, like horizontal rod storage, which I do still use, but I realize is totally ineffective as a way to keep your rods stored. Although I'm like, if I'm going under a bridge or something like that, or I'm traveling and I need to keep the rods on the boat, on the kayak, that's a great way to do it. With the rod sleeves and everything's protected and strapped down. But like when I'm fishing, now I've got a feel-free bag that's got rod holders that are behind me, and I just spin around, grab whatever I need, and and it takes time, but yeah, I think that should be the mission. We should do that. Get you in a pedal yak. You'll be like, this is a different beast entirely. I'm sure we can make something happen.
Be fun. Let me know.
Friggin' A. Oh boy. I think that about does it for this week's show, guys. I think we knocked it out of the park. I think we made podcast greatness. It's not even 9 p.m. right now. I mean, life is good. Life is freaking good.
It's fun. Yeah. Thank you very much for the invite again, man.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it, man. I appreciate you being part of it, man. You are one of the most respected content creators I think that is out there. Absolutely. Your followers, they absolutely are crazy about you. When people find out that you've been on this show, it's like, it's something noteworthy. They're just like, oh shit, you've had Debo on the show? I'm like, that dude is awesome. I'm like, it is my goal to travel out to the Midwest and fish. I've got a checklist of people in the Midwest I want to fish with. You, Murda, and Emily Edge are on that list for sure. Oh, and of course, and the Yak Angler, 100%.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you've got a spot to stay. You're one of the few. There's people that I have on the show. They're like, they're welcome anytime. For sure. You one of them, man. Yeah, good. I love people. It, dude. That's the thing is like, your show too is it's down to earth. Like you're not some pretentious prick like sitting on a throne.
Yeah.
I say it all the time on my show. Like there's been a couple people that have said like, dude, Debo's the type of guy I want to sit around a campfire and talk fishing with all night and then go fish the next day. I'm like, that is my dream compliment. That is it. Right. I don't care about the fame. I don't care about all this other shit. Like, can we connect? Can we have fun and talk? Yes.
I'm going to send you a video of the trip I did with Delirious Angler. Like the fishing was abysmal, but we had such a blast. We should do some shit like that.
Because that's what it's about.
It was awesome.
Even, Joe said earlier, even if the fishing sucks when you were going to that bridge place or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just beautiful. And that's like, that's half of the enjoyment is getting out there, enjoying nature, the scenery, it's different for everybody. For a lot of people, it's therapy. For some people, it's actual mental health, like unload.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So completely different deal. But
yeah, I can get that 100%.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Fishing is a bunch of things to everybody, and it's a weird little sport that's a combination, one part science, one part art, and they meet in the middle, and it's the weirdest fucking thing, but I'm here for it.
Yep.
Fucking A. Awesome, guys. Well, you guys have yourself an amazing week, everybody. If you're catching them, make sure you tag us in your pics. I love it when I get listeners that tag us in their pictures. I like to throw a comment or a like, or I'm saving all of them so that you guys get a little bump of in engagement as well. And remember, September's coming. And you know what? Now that I think about it, registration is open for Saturday or for September's multi-species tournament, multi-species scavenger hunt. So go ahead and sign on. I'm going to go ahead and do that too. I have a rudder handle to install and some other fun accessories as well. I will catch you guys on the flippity flop, like we always say here at Jigs and Bigs.
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.